Okay, before we get into the main meat and potatoes of this podcast, there are a couple things we need to add an addendum to the 2020 video. See, as of this moment, or basically, Batista is no longer getting inducted this year because the ceremony is not in front of fans, and they want to do the proper induction when the world is out of this hell, and we can all converse again like normal, and maybe my love can finally transform from an internet relationship to an actual one. Hey, PewDiePie basically, that's how PewDiePie met his girl, you know, over the internet, and look at that, they're married now, so yeah, I don't want to get too much in that, but let's just get back to here. Okay, so yeah, Batista, sadly not getting inducted this year, but when he does, just go back to the 2020 video, because I pretty much said everything I needed to say. Well, me and Hebe. And secondly, there's a couple other people they addendum that we added to, that they added to the podcast, to the Hall of Fame, I mean. If I can talk properly, yeah, there's a couple people they added. We have one celebrity and one warrior award. Our celebrity award basically is, William Shatner, aka Kirk of Star Trek, but he's made a couple appearances on WWE programming, served as Raw guest host in 2010, narrator for WWE Network reality series Breaking Ground, and also for 2020 as well, we have the recipient for the Warrior Award, Titus Worldwide himself, Titus O'Neil. Now, they do note his couple notes for some of his other champion stuff as well. Of course, one-time tag team champion and one-time an inaugural 24/7 champion. But the main thing for him with the Warrior Award is that basically he's getting it for 2020, or was going to, in honor of his charitable work, especially in his hometown of Tampa, Florida. So yeah, he's done a lot of charity work with various nonprofit groups in the Tampa Bay region. And yeah, it's where Mania is going to be held this year. He's helped more than 245 student athletes across the Tampa Bay area get into college, lead corporate volunteers in reading books to children and after-school programs, use story to inspire employees from all types of companies to volunteer, and even taken part in United Way's walking school bus program in at-risk neighborhoods by escorting children to school on foot to make sure they get there on time and can gain access to a healthy breakfast. He also hosts the annual Joy of Giving event where he hands out toys to more than 1,000 children. He also visits children with cancer in hospital as well. He was even the 261st Lightning Community Hero in 2012 with a $10 million 5-season commitment to the Tampa Bay community. Through the evening's game in total, the Lightning Foundation has granted $13.2 million to move in more than 300 different nonprofits in the greater Tampa Bay area. And in 2017, the founders announced that the Community Hero Program will give away another $10 million over the next 5 seasons. So, yeah, he's done a lot of good stuff and definitely is worthy of the Warrior Award, even if we don't necessarily see him in the ring as much as we used to. With all his charity work alone, yeah, I'd say he's worthy of the Warrior Award. And with that addendum out of the way, let's get into the main topic at hand here. Let's get into the main reason you're here, the 2021 Hall of Fame class. Sorry folks, it's just I had to get that addendum stuff out of the way. And yeah, we are now getting into the 2021 class. I basically said probably that there was going to be more than enough to talk about in a separate video. And guess who was right? This fucking guy was right. And we have some good people, too. Well, mostly 4 solid candidates, and one that I don't even completely agree with at all, but we'll get to him when we get to him. And, yeah, it's gonna be fun to talk about all of them. I'm Coffee Lover 239, and with me, as always, is Orange Cassidy's personal hype man, Heavy.
Hey guys, gonna be a long one, but you know what? The people in it, they're some of my favorite childhood superstars, so it'll be fun to get into.
I agree with that. And also with us finally joining us for this second Hall of Fame edition, because there's people he can actually retrospect about, our resident John Moxley stan, Steven.
Yo, what's up? I'm also here to talk about Kane.
Well, there you go. The big red machine. I think we're all excited for Kane. By the way, I want to ask you guys, what's Heavy first? What do you think of the 2020 Celebrity Wing inductee of William Shatner and the Warrior Award inductee for Titus O'Neil for 2020?
Well, I mean, I feel like the celebrity wing's kind of redundant, but you know what? If WWE want to get name value onto that Hall of Fame, I mean, it's their Hall of Fame. It's not really like that legitimate if they put in guys like Williams Shatner in, but you know, to each their own. Titus O'Neil, on the other hand, probably on the other spectrum, one of the most deserving people to enter. Maybe not as a competitor, but definitely as a Wwe Award. Like the accolades just listed off there, he's just a great human being, and I'm happy to see him receive the award. So yeah, I'm happy for that.
I agree with you, especially with his background and his some rough parts in his life growing up. It's honestly wonderful to see him overcome all that and do a lot of this work. And Steven, do you have anything to add for
This has been the third Royal Award that they have been doing.
Oh no, they've been doing it for much longer, man. They've been doing that for much longer, since 2015.
For Titus O'Neil, he does deserve. I mean, not a lot of champions he followed, but yes,
but
he
it's
was
charity work.
Yeah, charity work. I mean, he's a former tag team champion with the Primetime Players. Yeah,
We mentioned that.
yeah, I forgot he was the 24/7.
First ever.
Inaugural. Yeah, first ever.
Yeah. But didn't hold it that long. But you know,
That's what happens with that belt.
My favorite Titus O'Neil moment is probably Slider. He just
Okay. Let's ease off of that for now. All right. Okay, but yeah, I assume that's all you've got. Nothing to add for the celebrity wing, and let's go.
I really don't know William Shatner.
That's a shame. That's a shame for you, quite frankly, but whatever. Alright. I think we've gone on enough with the intro. We just had to addendum that stuff. Let's get into the main topics of this video. The 2021 class. Alright, and we're going to kick off the 2021 class with our one lone woman inductee for 2021, but it's a damn good one too. Molly Holly, recognized WWE accolades, 2-time WWE Women's Champion, and 1-time WWF Hardcore Champion. And I remember how that happened. Whacked the Hurricane with a frying pan, turning on him. And yeah, pinned him, and that's what happened. But for real, what more can we say about Molly Holly? Like, again, when you think of other influential women's wrestlers in the WWE, and even back, of course, when it was WWF, Molly Holly is one that definitely comes to mind. She mostly appeared from 2000 to 2005, and she's used the ring name Molly Holly, and she's even had a couple appearances in WCW, well, at least a brief stint from 1999 to 2000 before joining the WWF under the name Miss Madness and Mona. Of course, she's also went under the ring name Mighty Molly when she was teaming up with the WWE's resident superhero, the Hurricane, and yeah. So her career started in WCW, basically, as Miss Madness, one of Randy Savage's valets, along with Gorgeous George and Medusa. And that lasted for all of a little while. It was part of Team Madness, and they would interfere in matches in the benefit of Randy Savage. And actually, behind the scenes, though, Greenwald, yeah, her real name is Nora Greenwald, but behind the scenes, she actually, also, along with Medusa, aka Alundra Blaze, they actually also helped behind the scenes as well, and helped, train the other women of WCW at the WCW Power Plant. They're sort of a wrestling school. What is the Nightmare Factory to AEW, or what NXT and the Performance Center is to WWE. And then there was a betrayal on screen, basically. She gets fired in storyline along with Medusa after a championship loss. She becomes Mona, a fan favorite who wears a beauty pageant sash, tiara, white gloves, heels to the ring, and wrestled barefoot in a blue cocktail dress. Ooh, kinky. Embarked on many feuds with Medusa, Little Janine, and Asya. Independent female wrestlers such as Didi Venturi and Brandy Alexander were also brought in to wrestle Mona. She was released in August of 2000 in a cost-cutting move, and not unsurprisingly given the state that WCW was in at that point. Which eventually brings us to her main tenure that we get to retrospect on. Her tenure in the WWF. She worked off ring rust after she was signed in the year 2000 in Memphis Championship Wrestling. Became the manager of William Regal and was known as Lady Ophelia. Squared off also against the Cat, Bobcat, and Victoria. She reappeared finally in the WWF under the Lady Ophelia gimmick, wrestling dark matches and valeting for William Regal. It wasn't until her first major run where she joined on-screen cousins Bob Holly and Crash Holly to form the Holly Cousins. They feuded with TNA, Test and Albert, and manager Trish Stratus, and actually also Stratus was one of Holly's favorite people to work with. She apparently debuted on the November 6, 2000 edition of Raw is War, starting a short feud with Stratus, and this led to her first televised victory over Stratus in a 6-person intergender tag team match at Survivor Series that in 2000. On the November 23, 2000 SmackDown episode, Holly used the Molly Go Round finisher for the first time and defeated Stratus in her first singles match on WWF. In 2001, she formed an on-screen relationship with Spike Dudley in the midst of their storyline rivalry between her cousins and Spike's brothers, the Dudley Boys. This is actually referenced in the game SmackDown Just Bring It, should you decide to go for the tag team titles storyline themselves. Oh, that was fun, rough, and yeah. Apparently, she also cited this time as the best time of her career. Subsequent fallout between her and Crash led to an intergender singles match with Molly pinning Crash. And then she eventually dumps Spike and becomes Mighty Molly, the superhero's sidekick of the Hurricane. However, she eventually leaves the Hurricane to become a full-time solo wrestler, taking his Hardcore Championship after whacking him with a frying pan at WrestleMania X8 on March 17, 2002 in Toronto. She promptly lost it to Christian an hour later after getting a door slammed in her face. The 2 Hardcore Championship, everybody. The precursor to the dreaded 24/7 Championship. Only this has crazy, wacky, batshit things like this to enjoy, whereas the 24/7 title, well, the novelty of it is all completely fucking worn off. So, which then basically after her run, these are more of the more shorter runs. And now we go to her Women's Championship reign. After splitting up with the Hurricane, she returned to her previous ring name, Molly Holly. And after returning to the newly renamed World Wrestling Entertainment, she actually changed her look quite a bit by shortening her trademark long hair, darkening it to an autumn brown. And she said this because it would fit her new character better. Too bad Vince McMahon's theme for blondes wouldn't benefit from this, but I personally digress. She became more of a villainous, self-righteous, prude character, kind of like Ivory, appalled by the other WWE divas using their assets and degrading himself, and she would refer to herself as pure and wholesome. After she turned heel, she began her first rivalry once again with old nemesis Trish Stratus, after attacking her in a post-match assault on the April 1st episode of Raw by breaking a paddle over her head. And on the April 15th episode of Raw, Holly was defeated by Trish Stratus in a #1 contenders match to Jazz's Women's Championship. On the May 6th episode of Raw, Holly was defeated by Terry in a Divas Showdown contest after wearing a covered swimsuit and claiming to have dignity, as Terry was dressed with a more revealing swimsuit before attacking her and being stopped by Jerry Lawler because he's the only one who can contain this madness and puppies fest, you know. And they both had a match, Holly and Terry, following week on the May 13th episode of Raw where Holly emerged victorious. Following this, her feud with Stratus further escalated after Trish provoked Molly by making fun of Molly's large bottom on the June 10th episode of Raw, which led to a match that same night, and Holly defeated Stratus in a non-title match. The rivalry led to a match at that year's King of the Ring in 2002 on June 23rd for Trish's women's title, where Molly successfully captured it for the first time after pinning Stratus by hooking her tights. This would be the first of 2 reigns for Molly Holly. Following night on Raw, Holly teamed up with Jackie Gaida for a tag team match and stated that she finally brought back dignity to the women's title, not being a, quote, tramp who sleeps her way to the top, unquote, referring to Trish Stratus before being defeated by Trish and Linda Miles. Don't remember the latter? Doesn't matter right now. Anyways, on the July 15th episode of Raw, Holly successfully defended her title against Trish Stratus. After multiple intergender tag team matches throughout mid-July, August, and early September, including the first intergender tag team tables match between both Molly and Stratus, who started in alignment with Bubba, who competed along with her, Trish received a rematch for Molly's championship on September 22nd at Unforgiven 2002, where she dropped the title back to Stratus. The following night on Raw, Holly tried to regain her title in a triple threat match against Victoria and Stratus in an unsuccessful attempt to end their feud. Now, during this feud, Jerry Lawler also began to poke fun at Greenwald's bottom-heavy figure, which Greenwald would later reveal genuinely hurt her feelings in real life, but she did not mind the storyline initially when Stephanie McMahon approached her with the idea. And after ending her feud with Stratus, she was started competing in various singles and tag team matches till the end of 2002 and early 2003, including a second triple threat match for the Women's Championship on the October 28th episode of Raw, ending on both winning and losing sides. Ouch. So far, so good here. Some interesting storylines, a character kind of reminiscent of Ivory and parts, and yeah. And now we go basically in to her alliance with Gail Kim. Now, this is where Molly earned her second women's championship by defeating Gail Kim on July 28, 2003. Kim later turned heel and joined Molly in her feud with Stratus. During an attack on Stratus, Lita made a return, helping Trish fend off her attackers. Holly and Kim then lost the tag team match to Lita and Trish at Unforgiven, sparking a feud with Lita. This feud led to a match against Lita at 2003 Survivor Series for the women's title, which Holly retained. Molly lost her championship to Victoria in a fatal four-way elimination match on February 23rd, 2004. This feud led to a hair versus title match at WrestleMania 20 in March of 2004, which Molly lost, resulting in having her head shaved. Greenwald maintains that it was her idea to get her head shaved, suggesting the idea to Vince McMahon months before the match occurred because she wanted to do something at WrestleMania. That, basically, and the fact that otherwise the women might not have even been on the card in the first place. Too bad the head shaving was kind of botched. Let's just say they were still trying to get shit right, even during the entrances to the Kurt Angle-Eddie Guerrero match. Yeah, that was kind of embarrassing, but hey, I gotta give her props for that. She's got guts to do that, just to get the women on Mania. Over the next few months in storyline, she tried to disguise her bald head using loose-fitting wigs. Later in 2004, Molly feuded with Stacy Keibler, overpowering Stacy on the mat and pinning her in 3 consecutive occasions, the last one occurring in a number 1 contenders match. Now, Molly Holly's final WWE pay-per-view appearance occurred at Taboo Tuesday in 2004, and she appeared in the Fulfill Your Fantasy Battle Royal along with many other divas. The fans voted online for the divas to wear schoolgirl uniforms as opposed to French maid or nurses' outfits, as that's what you did at Taboo Tuesday. In contrast to the other girls who wore a sexy schoolgirl's uniform, Molly wore a demure 1980s style schoolgirl uniform with large pink panties underneath. Molly failed to... Shut the hell up, Steven. See, this is what I have to... Okay, Molly failed to win the match when Stratus eliminated her by tossing her through the ropes for the win. Not over the ropes, through the ropes. Her efforts and subsequent attempts to regain the title failed, due to several wrestlers from the company women's division being released in late 2004, and the introduction of the awful Raw Diva Search program, which... the less said, the better. Molly was left mostly off television, appearing in Sunday Night Heat and in Raw, and losing efforts to the likes of Lita, Victoria, Trish Stratus, and eventual that year's Diva Search winner, Christy Hemi. Greenwald left WWE and, in general, a full-time wrestling career in April of 2005. She was starting to become disenchanted with WWE, who began to focus on looks rather than wrestling ability. And anyone who saw the Diva Search at this time can definitely vouch for that. Anyway, she also hated her character had become a villain, but was not the direct cause of leaving the company. Actually, all those reasons were incorrect, but she would like to keep the real reason she left WWE private. Although I wouldn't be surprised if any of that played a factor. She decided to take a break from WWE and spend some time with her family and enjoy life as you should. She did have some sporadic appearances, basically, afterwards. Appeared backstage, reuniting with William Regal, Mickie James, or returned during a backstage segment with William Regal, Mickie James, and Hornswoggle on the Raw 15th anniversary episode in December of 2007. At WrestleMania 25, she returned to compete at the 25 Diva Royale to crown Miss WrestleMania, which, well, let's just say she would have been a better candidate. Shut up, Steven. Well, let's just say she would have... Shut up! Shut up, man. I'm not done. And let's just say she would have been a better candidate than the actual winner. We got Santina Morella. And then Santina would ruin shit 11 years later, and I got to witness that in person. God me, what did I do to deserve this? Okay, I'm not done. There's a few more appearances she had, or a couple more. On the January 27th, 2016, on January 27th, 2016, she appeared on the WWE Network's program Table for Three with the Alundra Blaze and Ivory. She once again appeared on the program, this time along with Candice Michelle McCool, which aired on May 18th. On January 28th, 2018, at the Royal Rumble, Holly made a surprise entrance at number 12 during the first ever Women's Royal Rumble match, in which she eliminated Farmer Girl Sarah Logan before being eliminated by Michelle McCool. On April 6th, she inducted Ivory into the WWE Hall of Fame as part of the 2018 class, which we talked about back then, archived under an old name, and you can go back and watch that. Molly was also included in the first 20-woman Battle Royale, the first ever all-women's pay-per-view, Evolution. She returned reprising her Mighty Molly gimmick at the Royal Rumble on January 26, 2020, again witness in person, entering at number 3 and being eliminated by this year's winner, Bianca Belair. She also made an appearance at the Raw Legends Night Special on January 1st, 2021. I would like to mention she has made a couple appearances outside of WWE. She is at Northern Impact Wrestling's first ever card at the Veterans of the Foreign Wars Hall in her hometown of Forest Lake, Minnesota. She also had some other stuff there as well. Anything else? Referee in an Impact Zone wrestling match on February 14, 2006 in Tempe, Arizona, and an X-Jam wrestling match on February 16, 2006 in Minot, North Dakota. She challenged Anthrax to wrestle her, with Anthrax refusing. She appeared at the German Stampede Wrestling event International Impact 3 in Ulsberg, Germany, commentating on a match along with former Pro Wrestling Illustrated senior editor Bill Apter and refereeing a women's match. And she made more appearances at independent events, and she defeated Johnny Fairplay after a quick low blow and pinfall in a WCWA event. And she also had guest referee autograph signings, and yeah. And anything else here? Any other accolades? There's really nothing much to go into. So, Heathy, what do you have to say about Molly Holly, and do you have any favorite moments from her?
I mean, of course, she was before my time, but I have seen a great deal of the Attitude Era and the years afterwards, and I've seen Molly Holly a lot, and I've got to say, for about 10 to 15 years before the women's revolution, or evolution, whatever you want to call it, I think Molly Holly was 10 to 15 years ahead of her time. If she came back to WWE full time, she would not look out of place. I mean, of course, the Rumbles of 2018 and 2020 is not really the best indicator because it's just a lot of punching and kicking with such a cluster of superstars. But Molly Holly did not look out of place. She looked like she could go a 30-minute match if she really wanted to. Personally, my favorite matches of her probably. Don't really have many favorite matches per se, but definitely the time frame where she was Mighty Molly. And I just joked to myself, she only became Mighty Molly to get closer to Hurricane Helms, so when Hurricane Helms won the hardcore title, she could turn on him. Power hungry for that gold. But yeah, Mighty Molly, definitely. I was shocked when we were doing this research that she wasn't already inducted into the Hall of Fame. It sounds like she would be a surefire favourite to go in as soon as she officially retired.
Well, here you go. It's now done.
Long overdue, but yeah, good to see her in there.
I agree with you, man. Steven, do you have anything to add?
No.
All right, I'll just leave your words at that. And if I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably say her initial I'd probably go with her initial win, actually, for the Women's Championship, basically, at King of the Ring 2002. Of course, I also liked the Unforgiven match as well, basically, where she lost it all. Oh, I really also got a kick out of her Royal Rumble appearances, especially the 2021 as Mighty Molly, because I was there in that for person, and I might have biases towards things I enjoy in real life.
You said 2021, you mean 2020.
No, I said 2020 Rumble. I said 2020. No, I said 2020.
Fine, whatever.
Good grief, man. Okay, but there you go. Let's just move on here. Look, Molly Holly, long overdue indeed, and definitely worthy of it. Definitely worthy of being inducted. Oh yeah, baby, here's another one that's long overdue. Eric Bischoff. What more can we say? Well, let's go over his accolades. Ooh, bless you. Alright, let's go over his accolades. Former senior vice president of WCW, who led WCW to an 83 consecutive week ratings win over WWE, then WWF during the Monday Night Wars. Also a one-time WCW Hardcore Champion, the first general manager for WWE's Raw brand, and the creator of the Elimination Chamber match and Raw Roulette. Wrestlers spun a roulette wheel to determine the stipulation of their match, used 6 times over the course of 2002 to 2013. Hey, I missed that so much. Can we bring that back, please? Can we? I really missed that a hell of a whole lot, you know.
What?
The Raw Roulette.
Yeah, I did too. I actually did too.
I figured you would.
It was there when I started watching wrestling. I think they only did like 3 times.
Yeah, but they did it over the course of 6 times, over the course of about 11 years. So just go back and watch that all when you can. But what more can we say about Eric Bischoff? Well, what exactly happened, basically? Well, he started working in the Minneapolis, Minnesota-based AWA under the ownership of Vern Gagne. In 1989, Bischoff would become an on-air interviewer and host of AWA until the company folded in 1991. He first worked in the sales department of their syndicated programming and became an on-air personality virtually by accident and last minute, as Larry Nelson, who was at the time employed by AWA as an announcer, was arrested under suspicion of DUI. Because of Nelson's sudden unavailability, Billy and his head booker, Jim Cornette, although citation needed, Cornette was not booker of AWA, this is just what's listed here on Wikipedia, opted to recruit Bischoff, who initially had no desire to be in front of the camera to fill in on the interviews. Bischoff believed that they thought he would be a good replacement due to his immediate availability in the TV studio, and the fact that he's already wearing a suit and tie helps. During the gradual demise of AWA, the company was unable to meet payroll, and Bischoff auditioned for an announcer position with the WWF, but was not hired. Which leads us to where his real bulk of his career was. WCW. He joined mostly started off, I bet you're wondering how the hell he even got into power in the first place. Well, let's go over that here, shall we? He joined WCW in 1991 as a C-show announcer, debuting at the Great American Bash that year. He reported to producer Tony Schiavone and WCW's vice president of broadcasting at the time, Jim Ross. In 1993, after WCW vice president wrestling operations Bill Watts resigned from the company, Bischoff went to TBS and executive and WCW president Bill Shaw and WCW executive vice president Bob Dew to apply for the job of executive producer. Ross and Schiavone seemed to be the top 2 candidates, but Bischoff was hired in Watts' place. Schiavone remained as a producer and commentator until the company's demise, but Ross was granted his release from WCW and went to work for the WWF. Initially, Bischoff and Dew worked together as partners, but clashed over the direction of the company. In 1994, Bischoff was promoted from executive producer to senior vice president, putting him in charge of everything WCW. Dew resigned, as did event manager Don Sanderfear and junior vice president Jim Barnett. Bischoff convinced Turner executives to better finance WCW in order to compete with the WWF. He moved WCW production to Disney MGM Studios in Orlando, Florida. Hulk Hogan, who was filming a show called Thunder in Paradise at Disney MGM Studios, was approached by Bischoff and Ric Flair and signed to a contract with WCW. He also invested money in production values and increased the number of WCW pay-per-views. 7 a year, then 10, then once a month. He also started a weekly live program, WCW Monday Nitro, that went directly against WWF's flagship Monday Night Raw. This was kind of a big deal at the time, as no one else had really had another competing show to go up against Raw at this point, so this was a pretty big deal back when this first happened. Bischoff remained as an announcer on Nitro, regularly spoiling Raw results, as the latter show was not always aired live to boost ratings. This created what became known amongst fans as the Monday Night Wars, as WCW and WWF fought for viewers, and in the process kick-started a new level of mainstream popularity for pro wrestling. The changes paid off, and in 1995, WCW turned a profit for the first time in the company's history. While WWF at the time, well, I think the less said about 1995 for them, the better. By 1997, Bischoff's official job title was President of World Championship Wrestling. And what exactly also happened during this madness? Well, he kickstarted the idea that was the New World Order after signing Scott Hall in 1996. 2 weeks later on Nitro, he was joined by Kevin Nash. They became the Outsiders. They were initially depicted as WWF rebels not under contract to WCW to avoid legal action by the WWF. Or rather, to avoid legal action by WWF. Bischoff, in a worked interview at Great American Bash 96, asked point blank if they worked for WWF, which Hall and Nash denied. Of course, the Outsiders expanded and became the New World Order, with perennial favorite Hulk Hogan aligning himself with the Outsiders in July of 1996. Read more about it on the NWO's own Wikipedia page and watch us retrospect about the NWO back in the 2020 Hall of Fame video when they were supposed to be inducted. NWO was depicted, of course, as a rival company engaging in a hostile takeover of WCW. Week to week, angles grew more complex, with a mixture of main eventers, mid-carders, executives, referees, managers, and even announcers involved in various subplots related to the on-screen power struggle. Led by the NWO storyline, WCW took over WWF as the #1 wrestling promotion in America. Nitro defeated Raw in the ratings by a wide margin for 84 consecutive weeks. During this era, Bischoff moved from his role as commentator and joined the NWO as a manager. His TV character, dubbed Eazy-E by Hall, or Sleazy-E by the commentators, became a dictator and egomaniac as the NWO boss. In the summer of '98, Bischoff hosted a Tonight Show-like segment on WCW programming with Miss Elizabeth. Ted DiBiase has said in shoot interviews that Bischoff originally hired DiBiase to be the spokesperson and financial backer for the NWO, but when the NWO was getting to be a more prominent storyline, Bischoff replaced DiBiase as an NWO spokesperson. Bischoff also enjoyed some mainstream exposure at the time, appearing on the HBO series Arliss, but it's spelled with $2 because even before rappers were doing that, that was a thing, and even on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. So everything was going great here, or so we thought. Well, what the hell happened during his time's run at this point? What the hell happened with the downfall of WCW? Here's where we get to the depressing shit, people. When the WWF rebranded their product as the Attitude Era and began to focus on new superstars like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mick Foley, and The Rock, and made owner/longtime announcer Vince McMahon into a character, much like what happened with Eric Bischoff before, this resulted in a ratings turnaround for the WWF. On April 13th, 1998, WWF ended WCW's year-and-a-half run on the top of the ratings war. Despite losing in the ratings to WWF, WCW continued to post strong ratings, attendance, and pay-per-view buy rates throughout 1998. In 1998, WCW built one of its first homegrown superstars in Bill Goldberg and gave him the WCW World Heavyweight Championship on the July 6, 1998 episode of Nitro at the Georgia Dome in front of almost 40,000 fans on Nitro. 39,919 to be more specific. That is insane. In early 1999, Bischoff promoted Kevin Nash to head booker. Despite Goldberg drawing at the box office and doing 3 shows in December/January that nearly did $1 million at gate, the decision was made to end Goldberg's undefeated streak and put the belt on Nash. On the January 4th Nitro at the Georgia Dome, Nash dropped the title to Hogan in a match that became known as the infamous Finger Poke of Doom. The NWO was rebranded as One. By March, ratings began dropping and WCW began experiencing an endless streak of ratings losses. So I think we can point Bischoff promoting Kevin Nash to head booker as the thing that basically was the domino, well, complete with everything else going on, and this seems to be the domino that has completely nuked WCW into the sun. Throughout 1999, Bischoff reverted to focusing on aging WCW stars like Hogan, DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, Randy Savage, Sting, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Kevin Nash, Ric Flair, and Sid Vicious. In an effort to improve ratings, WCW also began focus heavily on several celebrities. Master P, Chad Brock, the heavy metal group Megadeth, Dennis Rodman, who was a member of the NWO, as we outlined in the previous part, and, well, the group Kiss. Oh, God, no. This is because one of the last deals Bischoff structured with was a deal with the members of Kiss, the rock band, to have their own wrestling character known as the Kiss Demon. Oh, my God. Can I just mention how much crap that actually genuinely was? Like, it was just awful, terrible. Like, just, they were gonna make this whole big deal out of it, but it didn't work. That's the long story short. It didn't fucking work. I could go into more detail, but that's not why we're here. By late 1999, WCW began losing around $5 million a month. Attendance, pay-per-view buy rates, and ratings were down significantly. And on September 10th, 1999, Bischoff was relieved of power. So yeah, if you want to know where everything went wrong, now we know. Appointing Kevin Nash as head booker completely fucked everything up. And it seems that mistake was too costly for Bischoff. At that point, on September 10th, 1999, Bischoff was relieved of his management position with WCW by Turner Sports chief Harvey Schiller. The job title of president of WCW was also eliminated. He was replaced with WCW Vice President of Strategic Planning Bill Bush, who was named Senior Vice President, handling the creative of the company, with Brad Siegel handling the day-to-day ops. Excuse me. And it only got worse from here, because one of Bush's first acts in charge was the additions of former WWF head writer Vince Russo and his colleague Ed Ferrara, but both of whom had worked for Raw when the show began to overtake Nitro in the ratings to head up WCW's creative decision. And also, by the way, Eric Bischoff getting booted is also what led to him being replaced in the movie, in the dreaded WCW film, Ready to Rumble. Yeah, if you remember that awful film, Ready to Rumble, that was a tie-in for WCW, the character of Titus Sinclair that Joe Pantoliano played in the film was originally supposed to be a fictionalized version of Eric Bischoff himself, and played by Bischoff himself. However, with this relieving of power, that never came to fruition. Though Bischoff would return in April of 2000, around the time the movie came out in theaters, as an on-screen air character, along with Vince Russo, to lead the heel faction, the New Blood. Bischoff also began working on writing the shows with Russo during this time. His last on-camera role was the awful incident at Bash at the Beach 2000 pay-per-view, when Russo did a worked shoot on Hulk Hogan. Now, it wasn't all bad. Seemingly, Bischoff tried to salvage WCW, buy it, and bring it back to its former glory. On January 11, 2001, with WCW facing major financial woes, Siegel accepted Bischoff's offer to purchase the company. However, the new head of Turner Broadcasting, Jamie Kellner, then canceled all WCW programming from its networks. This included Nitro and Thunder. Necessarily wasn't even out of pure spite or hatred, because that was not the case. But needless to say, it's just it kept losing money, and by this point, the company was just losing so much, it's just putting itself in the hole even further. And with little to no network on which to air its programming, WCW was of little value to Fusinet, whose offer depended on being able to continue to air WC programming on Turner Networks. Bischoff said, "It made absolutely no sense for us to do the deal under those circumstances," which was right. And no other network basically wanted to pick it up, basically. They tried to do a thing with Fox long before the SmackDown thing happened, but that fell through. They tried to do something with USA Network, but they didn't want to be known as the Wrestling Network, so that basically nuked the kibosh. And, well, yeah, that's how WCW sadly died. Its unfortunate, sad, sad death. WCW programming was canceled. All the company's key assets, tape library, trademarks, and selected contracts were purchased by the WWF in March of 2001 for only $3.5 million. Is that not sad, or is that not sad? What do you make of all of this, Heavy?
I mean, I think he's worthy. He took the stars from the WWF, the Attitude from ECW, the high-flying cruiserweights from AAA, and probably the storylines from New Japan. And I think he turned it into the perfect wrestling product for about 2 or 3 years.
And then, as we mentioned, everything that happened, and
Yeah, but to be honest, I felt like he bought some time for WCW. Nobody's perfect. I don't feel.
yeah.
He was.
And the real shit was really after he was relieved of power. That's when all the real bad shit started happening in that company.
Yeah, we could debate about like if Bischoff deserves this or not. But to be honest, whether you love the guy or hate him, of course he had like a massive financial help from Ted Turner at the time, but I think he absolutely changed the game with Nitro. And then moving away from WCW for a minute, he even went to further his character in WWE. Even having the humility to eat shit on more than one occasions.
Oh yeah, get his comeuppance. Basically, we haven't even gotten into that yet, though. But
yeah, but to do that, honestly, he's certainly more well-deserved than a lot of people who are in the Hall of Fame right now, and that time with WCW just absolutely, nailed home, what a genius he could be at times.
Yeah. And do you have anything to add, Steven?
Yeah, he was one of the best heels for GM,
Well, why don't we actually get into that, then? His tenure in WWE. Now, he briefly served as president of Mat Rats, a youth-based wrestling company. That was his only post-WCW endeavor. And now we can get into the real thing we all remember. WWE reign for him. He was hired by WWE to be the general manager of Raw in the aftermath of the brand split. Although primarily an on-screen role, Bischoff had a wide range of contacts within WWE to whom he could pitch creative ideas. He first debuted as the Raw general manager on the July 15th episode of Raw. He resurrected his characteristic brand of smarminess with the general manager position, again playing the arrogant heel character he employed as the NWO boss in WCW. And during his debut on Raw, he told the audience about how he was president of WCW, creator of NWO, and forced Vince McMahon to change the way he does business. If only AEW could get that big enough to where they force Vince and company to change business again, but let's give everything enough time. Anyways, Bischoff, let me see here, where were we? Oh yeah, Bischoff is in second place in the longest reigns as general manager in WWE history with 3 years in total. Former rival and former general manager of SmackDown, Teddy Long, surpassed Bischoff's record with a combined number of 6 years. Bischoff's wrestling innovations in WWE included the Raw Roulette and Elimination Chamber. Well, why don't we talk about it? Starting with the Raw Roulette itself, or if I could find the damn thing here. Okay, if I could spell properly, please. It's not listed on the Raw's page, but as I mentioned before here, it was basically spinning a roulette wheel to determine the stipulation of a particular match. It was used 6 times over the course of 2002 to 2013, and I wish they would bring it back. And of course, the Elimination Chamber. What more can we say about this? One of the most brutal matches ever in the history of the company. Certainly had a strong going early on, used for many years on end, and still continues to be used to this very day, even getting a pay-per-view in its own name of mixed quality. And he also feuded with Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shane McMahon, John Cena, SmackDown General Manager Stephanie McMahon, and former ECW owner Paul Heyman. At Taboo Tuesday, Bischoff had his head shaved after failing to beat his kayfabe nephew, Eugene. Bischoff then began a face turn after getting his head shaved. He favored wrestlers like Randy Orton, Chris Benoit, and Chris Jericho. Bischoff subsequently took a vacation after allowing Randy Orton Sr. to become general managers for up to 4 weeks, with every member being the general manager once a week. Bischoff began favoring heels again after John Cena was drafted to Raw in 2005, and he was then WWE Champion, and refused to participate in Bischoff's vendetta against the impending ECW revival. This was in the build-up to ECW One Night Stand. And as a result, Bischoff declared war on Cena, citing him for his rapping and thug nature disdain, and made wrestlers like Chris Jericho and Christian try to take away the championship from Cena. In November, Bischoff aligned himself with Kurt Angle And also, yeah, that ECW Revival of Madness, he got chewed the hell out by Paul Heyman at One Night Stand 05 in that legendary shoot promo. Go watch that if you haven't. It is brilliant. Anyways, following several months of Raw and SmackDown invasions, Bischoff lost to SmackDown General Manager Theodore Long at Survivor Series after the Boogeyman helped Long beat Bischoff. And here's the big moment where it went down to hell. On the December 5th episode of Raw, Bischoff was kayfabe fire as a general manager when Cena literally FU'd him, and Vince McMahon literally tossed him into a garbage truck. "Take out the trash," is what he said, where his history of unscrupulous actions were listed, and just had him driven out of the arena. Anyways, Bischoff then sat out the remainder of the year and spent the start of 2006 writing a book that would become Controversy Creates Cash. Bischoff was against writing a wrestling book as he initially believed most are bitter, self-serving revisionist history at best, and monuments to bullshit at their worst. He did have some sporadic appearances, though. He appeared on September 25th, 2006 on WWE TV for the first time in close to a year, and after being brought into the ring by Jonathan Coachman, he proceeded to promote his recently finished book, Controversy Creates Cash, giving a worked shoot on McMahon and WWE. During this segment, Bischoff stated, "Without Monday Nitro, there would be no Monday Night Raw." Wait a second. Wait a damn minute. Eric, are we sure here? Hold on. I need to really... Okay, Raw started January 11th, 93. Eazy-E, I hate to break it to you, but Raw beat you by 2 years. You were the first to technically go up against Raw, which no one had ever done before at that time. And I'm not sure we're going to see for a good while, but I digress. And without the NWO, there would be no DX. You can give him that one. And without Aaron Bischoff, there would be no Vincent Kennedy McMahon. After this statement, his microphone was cut off and he was escorted from the arena by security. A few days later, JBL conducted a 4-part interview with Bischoff, further discussing his book on WWE.com. During the interview, Bischoff discussed various topics such as his true feeling towards Lex Luger, his thoughts on Paul Heyman, decision of giving Kevin Nash booking power, and his overall reaction to the Monday Night Wars. So at least we can have an insight of why he did what he did, the kayfabe event, or not even kayfabe, the real-life event that basically kickstarted WCW's downfall. Now, the book was released on October 17, 2006, and became a New York Times bestseller. He was even the special guest referee for D-Generation X vs. Rated RKO at Cyber Sunday on November 5th, 2006. 60% of the vote. Cheated DX out of the win, leaving Randy Orton and Edge the victor. Slimy bastard. Next night on Raw, Bischoff was reinstated as general manager for only one night. He restarted matches if he did not like the outcome, and got revenge on Maria Kanellis for her statement made in his trial the year before by making her face Umaga, forced John Cena to take the night off, and banned DX from the building. Restarted the match between Jeff Hardy and Johnny Nitro for the Intercontinental Championship after Hardy won by disqualification. It was restarted as a no disqualification, and Johnny Nitro took advantage of that by using Molina to distract Hardy, striking him with the title belt. And at the end of the show, DX interfered with the main event when Bischoff tried to help Edge and Orton win the World Tag Team Championship and forced him to be humiliated by Big Dick Johnson, as revenge for crossing them the night before. On March 5th, 2007, Bischoff made a brief appearance on Raw in Phoenix, Arizona to give Vince McMahon his thoughts on the WrestleMania 23 match against Donald Trump. In August of 2007, Bischoff's contract expired, and on December 10th, 2007, he appeared at Raw for its 15th anniversary special and confronted by Chris Jericho, the man whom he fired on August 22nd, 2005, infamously saying, "You son of a bitch! You're fired!" And that was basically his run for, that was his WWE run. And nothing else. Don't forget Impact and nothing else. Yeah, Impact, his run there was him and Hogan completely nuked the company into hell and high water for a while. So, yeah, that's all you need to know about that. He did have several returns to WWE after. WWE released a DVD about Bischoff in 2016, with documentary portions also airing on the WWE Network. He also inducted Diamond Dallas Page into the Hall of Fame on March 31st, 2017. 25th anniversary of Raw, January 22nd, 2018, or 25th anniversary, Bischoff made a guest appearance on the show during a segment with other former Raw general managers. June 2019 announced that Bischoff would be executive director of SmackDown, and part of his role would be to act as an intermediary between WWE and Fox executives due to his background in the television industry. On July 22nd, 2019, he appeared on the Raw Reunion episode and met along with Eve Torres and the Kanellis. I can't even pronounce with both Maria Kanellis and Mike Bennett, and invited them to come to SmackDown. On October 15, 2019, he was replaced by I love you, my good old buddy Bruce, as JD would say, Bruce Pritchard, and with immediate effect, he had left the company. Brian Alvarez reported that he heard zero good things about Bischoff, and Bischoff did not know the product nor the wrestlers. According to Fox, Bischoff was released and significant promises were made that we don't feel were upheld. In March of 2020, Bischoff reflected on his WWE departure, stating, I knew about 8 weeks in, it just wasn't going to work out. I knew I wasn't fitting and it wasn't a secret. It just wasn't right. I had to fit in the system, and I wasn't able to do it in the timeline it needed to be done. And after that departure, he did make a couple appearances on AEW, first time on TNT since 2000, on the August 5th, 2020 episode of Dynamite, to moderate a debate between Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. We referred to his appearance as a cameo, and he had not signed with the promotion. But he returned later that year on October 28th, 2020, to ask Jericho and MJF questions during a town hall meeting, provoking the two wrestlers and setting up their match at Full Gear. He also appeared on the March 3rd, 2021 episode of Dynamite as part of an Inner Circle press conference. So there we go. I think we've got the rest, and what more can we really say about Bischoff? I'd say he was probably my favorite Raw general manager ever, quite frankly. And a lot of the innovations like the Elimination Chamber and the Raw Roulette, and then combine that with all his WCW history, definitely I have to say makes him worthy of being inducted. It's a shame that things didn't quite go according to plan. They were trying to bring him back the second time around. But you have to wonder, if he actually did learn the product, adapt like that, if someone like me, who has lapsed for about 6 years, maybe 6, 7, maybe 8 at most years, what more can you easily start to pick things back up and get in the swing of things? Surely Bischoff could have, right? And I'm not some executive, mind you. I'm just a guy here who's studying the game development, but whatever. Anyways, though, you have to wonder how he would have handled things like the Tribal Chief ordeal that we got going on now, and all the other stuff that's going on. Healy, do you have anything to add, and do you have any other favorite Bischoff moments?
Well, in terms of what he did recently, I don't think his mind's truly gone. I feel like genius, whether you were a bit of a genius or a masterful genius, that genius always sticks around in some sort of capacity well into your old age. So I feel like Bischoff could do a job as a booker if he wanted to now. I mean, when you think of Bischoff, you think of WCW, you also think of New World Order. You know, that picture, that iconic shot of him on the motorcycle in the ring with the Santa hat. But Bischoff really sparked the biggest wrestling boom in quite some time in the 90s. So you can never overlook Bischoff for his genius and what he did for the not just WCW but the rest of the world. So well deserved.
I agree with that. Steven, do you have anything to add or any favorite Bischoff moments?
I mean, you're right. He's one of the best GMs for Raw. But the best GMs is Teddy Long. But we'll get that.
That was SmackDown.
But I didn't watch him a lot in the early days, 90s, 2000s. Unfortunately, I didn't watch wrestling until later on.
I know.
I didn't. First time I see him on TV was at Raw 25, I think, when the Raw GM. Yeah,
and he was there basically, like we mentioned.
And then now I saw him recently in AEW. It was funny him being AEW doing it as a request. I never liked you, you know that, Chris Jericho?
And that was great. And the crazy thing is that his latest appearance on Dynamite, that was like almost 2 weeks before he was actually announced to be inducted. That is insane. But I think Bischoff's more than earned this status, and it's not like other complications. So, Yeah, I gotta agree. Bischoff, very well worthy of this induction, and, man.
We Collie, shall we?
No, we still have to get through, the Big Red Machine.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, here we go. That's gotta be Kane. Yes, indeed, Vince. That's gotta be Kane. Oh, yeah. Now, if there's ever one who was absolutely worthy also of being inducted, it's the Big Red Machine himself. What can you say about his long-ass list of accolades? One-time WWF champion, one-time World Heavyweight champion, one-time ECW champion, two-time Intercontinental champion, one-time WWF Hardcore champion, one-time 24/7 champion, two-time WWE Tag Team champion, 9-time World Tag Team champion, one-time WCW Tag Team champion during the Alliance Invasion storyline, SmackDown's 2010 Money in the Bank winner, two-time Slammy Award winner, Best Family Values in 2010 for beating up Jack Swagger, and Match of the Year in 2014 for the Survivor Series elimination match. Most consecutive Royal Rumble match eliminations at 46, and the most Royal Rumble match appearances at 20. That's a big-ass accolade for a man who's been pretty fucking loyal to the company ever since his early days. He had a few years from 92 to 95 as Angus King, debuting in the St. Louis, Missouri area in the CSWA in 1992, which was owned and run by his childhood friend Mark Morton. He later moved south and began wrestling as Doomsday, appearing at the as a Christmas creature at the USWA and as Unabomb in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, where he held the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Championship with Al Snow in a team called the Dynamic Duo. He even, as Doomsday, held the USWA World Heavyweight Championship, worked for Pro Wrestling Fujiwara Gumi under his real name, and in 1993 as Bruiser Mastino.
Curious. He became tag team champion with Rob Van Dam.
We'll get to that. Hold your horses, Steven. He lost his only match in 1993 as Bruiser Mastino. He lost his only match for the WCW to Sting. It was in 94 and 95. He also wrestled in World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico, feuding with Invader No. 1. 1995 is where he would debut in the WWF as the Unabomb, losing to WWF wrestler The Undertaker, and of course, at an SMW show. And of course, this would be the start of where things really link together, and then, yeah. Now, he did have a couple gimmicks beforehand, but I'm not going to spend too much time with those. His first appearance was as Isaac Yankum Dds. This was during that bad time, 1995 in Raw, where they were trying to throw whatever wacky gimmicks and see whatever sticks. And this was one of them. He was basically the evil dentist, Jerry Lawler's private dentist, and was an evil dentist, if you will, and not worthy there. And he's also had one of the few themes that was literally just noise. See also Right to Censor's theme. Anyway, September of 1996 is when also the man who played Kane, Glenn Jacobs, became the fake Diesel, and Rick Bogner was also the fake Razor Ramon at that point. Yeah, I don't need to get into all that details. That all was just bad. Thankfully, in April of 1997 was where things really started to set in for Mr. Jacobs. This was the build of his new character. At In Your House 14, Revenge of Taker, Undertaker launched a fireball into the face of his former manager Paul Bearer, who had unsuccessfully attempted to assist his protege, Mankind, to victory in their WWF Championship match. Mankind reintroduced Bearer on the May 12th episode of Raw, attempted to reunite with Taker after a long period of mutual hostility, and using the ultimatum of revealing Undertaker's biggest secret. That biggest secret? His long-lost brother, the Big Red Machine, Kane, later revealed as Bear's illegitimate son and Undertaker's half-brother. And yeah, there is a lot of backstory and lore, with Bearer implying that Undertaker had murdered his family by starting a fire at their funeral home, except for Kane, who was left physically and mentally scarred by the event. Hence, this covered up the long, sort of all covered up tights, except for maybe one off the arm, and the mask that is very iconic in a way that I still badly want in some way, shape, or form. And Undertaker claimed Kane was a pyromaniac, was the only one who could have started the fire and not survived. However, in October 98, Undertaker confessed to purposely burning down the hut. The official debut for Kane, though, was at Bad Blood in Your House on October 5th, 1997. Oh boy, I was wee young at that point. He used the Undertaker's signature tombstone pile driver.
I wasn't even born yet.
You weren't yet. Yeah, neither of you two were, but anyways, he used the tombstone pile driver to cost him the victory in the first Hell in a Cell against Shawn Michaels. In keeping with the notion that Kane had been scarred by the fire and to conceal Jacob's identity, the character wore a mask, sported long hair, and wore red and black ring attire that almost covered his entire body. Of course, Kane and Undertaker feuded with one another over the following year, and with Kane winning a match at Survivor Series in what was it? Oh, 97, back to that infamous one. Undertaker initially refused to face him, saying he would not fight his own flesh and blood. But then Kane betrayed him, basically, when he cost him the WWF Championship, The Undertaker, as Kane interfered in the match against Shawn Michaels at the Royal Rumble. Then Kane locked Taker in a casket and set it on fire after the match, but Undertaker escaped the casket without being seen before Kane set it on fire. In the following month, Undertaker returned and defeated Kane at WrestleMania 14 on March 29th. After the match, Kane and Paul Bearer attacked The Undertaker. They continued to feud until Unforgiven in Your House on April 26, when Undertaker defeated Kane in an Inferno match. Bearer tried to help Kane by attacking Undertaker, but as Kane was retreating backstage, Vader forced Kane back towards the ring, and Undertaker attacked them both by jumping over the ropes surrounded by fire before setting Kane's right arm on fire. And Kane defeated Vader in a mask versus match at Over the Edge in Your House. On the June 1st episode of Raw's War, Kane defeated Undertaker to become #1 contender to the WWF Championship. At King of the Ring, Kane defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin in a First Blood match, following interferences by Mankind and The Undertaker to win his first, and sadly only WWF Championship reign, and Kane lost the title back to Austin the following night on Raw's War. I get it, Austin was so, at that point, very popular, but geez, would it have killed them to give Kane a much longer run? It always seemed like he would always seem to be undermined at times by Austin, not just here, but in the 2001 Royal Rumble. But we'll get to that when we get to that. From 1998 to 2002, Kane went through several different tag teams. He formed a team with Mankind and won the WWF Tag Team Championship twice. After losing the titles and turning on Mankind, Kane allied with The Undertaker, with the duo becoming the Brothers of Destruction. Funny enough, actually, at Breakdown in Your House, Undertaker, Kane, and Austin competed in a triple threat match for Austin's WWF Championship. Kane and Undertaker could not pin each other, so they pinned Austin at the same time. The half-brothers fought one another for the vacant championship, WWF Championship, at Judgment Day in Your House, which ended in a no contest because Austin counted a double pinfall and just declared himself the winner. And Undertaker betrayed Kane for Paul Bearer. They continued to feud. We had a Buried Alive match between Austin and Taker, which Kane interfered in, attacked Undertaker, cost him the match. And then the Corporation had Kane committed to an insane asylum, as seen at the 1999 Royal Rumble. Kane also joined the Corporation in December to stay out of the asylum, but later betrayed by the Corporation and thrown out of the alliance. He also formed a tag team with X-Pac, acquired a girlfriend, Tori, only for X-Pac to go Mr. Steal Your Girl, basically, and, betray Kane. On the plus side, though, he evolved from being a mute, aided speech through an electrolarynx to speaking unaided. He even became associated with DX2, faction of which X-Pac was a member. His first unaided words were the DX slogan, "Shock it." Something like that, at least. They even won the WWF Tag Team Championship twice. But yeah, X-Pac turned on Kane, rejoined DX. They had a feud against each other, which was exacerbated in early 2000 when Tori betrayed Kane, joined X-Pac and DX, and their feud ended at WrestleMania 2000 when Kane teamed with Rikishi to defeat X-Pac and Road Dogg. Kane returned on the May 29th episode of Raw, helped Undertaker and Rock fought out the McMahon-Helmsley faction. There was a main event match at King of the Ring against Vince and Shane McMahon, and then W Champion Triple H. Undertaker and Kane's rivalry resurfaced during the match, but patched the relationship soon after. Kane was later assaulted by The Undertaker. They had a match at SummerSlam. Undertaker removed Kane's mask, causing him to flee the ring, covering his exposed face, and yeah. Sadly, while Kane stayed in contention of the WWF Championship picture, he would never get another holding of the belt. Yeah. Feuded with Chris Jericho and defeated him at Survivor Series and at Rebellion, but ultimately lost the championship last man standing match at Armageddon in 2000. Later, Kane reformed his alliance with The Undertaker immediately after the Royal Rumble match. In the Royal Rumble, which he eliminated 11 wrestlers. 11. I just want to clarify and mention that this was unseen at the time, basically. This was unlike anything that was ever seen. Kane was a dominating bastard during that match. I mean it. He completely was just wiping the floor with everyone. Like when the Honky Tonk Man, he was just cleaned house entirely. Like there was no tomorrow. Unfortunately, he was eliminated by the eventual winner, Steve Austin, being the runner-up. Of course, Kane competed in a triple threat hardcore championship match at WrestleMania X7, defeating Raven for the title, in a triple threat that also featured The Big Show. Kane and Undertaker once again teamed as the Brothers Destruction over the years, feuding with Edge and Christian, Rikishi and Haku, and the two-man power trip, Austin and Triple H. At Judgment Day, Kane defeated Triple H and won the Intercontinental Championship, but lost to Albert on an episode of SmackDown following interference from Diamond Dallas Page. During the invasion, Kane and Undertaker feuded with Page and Chris Kanyon after Page began stalking Undertaker's wife, Sarah. Feud culminated at SummerSlam, where they defeated Page and Kanyon in a steel cage match, and they both held the WWF Tag Team and WCW Tag Team Championships. Kane and Undertaker defeated Chronic at Unforgiven later that year, 2001, and participated in the winner-takes-all match at Survivor Series as members of the victorious Team WWF. Kane was actually drafted to Raw in the aftermath of the 2002 brand split. And Kane feuded with the New World Order and acting human by talking through his mask and referring to his fan as Canaanites, as Evie mentioned there earlier. Unfortunately, not all of it was very good. He later returned to the renamed WWE as part of the Raw roster in August of 2002 with a new outfit and a half mask. He teamed with the Hurricane and won the WWE Tag Team Championships after defeating the Un-Americans, Lance Storm and Christian. The following week on Raw, Kane won the Intercontinental Championship from Chris Jericho despite interference from Triple H and Ric Flair. On the October 7th episode of Raw, Kane successfully single-handedly defended the World Tag Team Championship in a 4-team TLC match as the Hurricane was attacked earlier that evening by Triple H and Ric Flair and was unable to compete. That match was later nominated as WWE's 2002's Match of the Year. Kane and the Hurricane later lost the belts to Chris Jericho and Christian the following week of Raw. And as a result of this madness, Kane began feuding with Triple H, leading to a match at No Mercy in 2002, which Kane's Intercontinental Championship and Triple H's World Heavyweight Championship were at stake in. Oh no! Oh. Do I really have to talk about this? I really don't fucking want it. It was just... This shit was traumatizing to me as a kid, and it's just... Alright. Fine, let's just get this fucking shit over with. So in the weeks preceding that match, Triple H claimed that several years earlier, Kane had an unrequited relationship with a woman named Katie Vick. He claimed that after Vic was killed in a car crash, Kane had sex with her. Necrophilia. And Triple H later threatened to show the video footage of Kane committing the act in question. But when the footage actually aired that was showed, all it showed was Triple H dressed as Kane, simulating mock sex with a mannequin in a casket with the woman who's supposed to be Katie Vick. And not shut up, Steven!
love that storyline.
Shut up! Don't you fucking start right now. Did you not learn anything from the shit we've been through over the past fucking days? Shut your mouth, Dad. You shut your mouth or I'm just... Look at this. This was awful. And apparently the actual funeral home that they filmed in was not appreciative of this. And you can imagine why, because there was actually another fucking service going on at that point in time. Never forget, screwed your brains out. I'm pretty sure WWE has tried to scrub this segment in every way, shape, or form. Guarantee you that's not going to be on Peacock when all is said and done. Or fucking hell, maybe. I don't fucking know this shit. Anyways, Hurricane later got back at Triple H, or rather someone wearing a Triple H series of masks, getting an enema. And not to mention, this angle was very unpopular with fans, and was de-emphasized before the title match, basically. You can tell, judging by my reaction. I still can't even get over this. All of this was built up for a burial so big, you would think that what Brian Dana said, that Kane would defeat Triple H and expose him for the big jerk that he is. Nope. Triple H and Flair cheated during the match at No Mercy, and Triple H won, unifying the Intercontinental Championship and the WWF Championship into one, or rather the World Heavyweight Championship into one. And with the hardcore and European titles already retired earlier in that year, that meant there was only one champion on Raw, Triple H, and nobody else. Don't forget the chat, and nobody else. For more information to see where that quote came from, see Brian Zane's review of the Reign of Terror. So yeah, but there was a non-title casket match on the October 28th episode of Raw, where Kane defeated Triple H to end their feud. He also participated in the first ever Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship, which was won by Shawn Michaels. Now we get into his tag team with fellow Hall of Fame inductee this year, Rob Van Dam. They won the World Tag Team Championships from Chief Morley, a.k.a. Val Venus, and Lance Storm in a triple threat elimination match involving the Dudley Boys on the March 31st episode of Raw. They lost the World Tag Team Championship to La Resistance at Bad Blood. Triple H offered Kane a spot in his stable, Evolution, but co-general manager Stone Cold Steve Austin offered Kane the opportunity to face Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship if he rejected Triple H's offer. But Eric Bischoff insisted if Kane lost, he would have to unmask. Kane accepted Austin's offer, challenged Triple H following week in Madison Square Garden, which Kane lost. Kane officially unmasked, caused him to go mentally unstable, chokeslam Rob Van Dam, and in an interview with Jim Ross, Kane attacked Ross, set him on fire, later attacked Linda McMahon on the Raw stage, tombstone pile driving her. Then this sparked a feud between Kane and Shane McMahon, Linda's son, with Kane defeating Shane in a last man standing match at Unforgiven and an ambulance match at Survivor Series. Never forget, electrocuting his testicles. Jesus Christ, that was fucked up. Also later, during the latter event, Kane interfered in a buried alive match between Vince McMahon and The Undertaker, helping McMahon bury The Undertaker and win the match. This was done to kill off the American Badass. In January 2004, Kane took part in the Royal Rumble match and was eliminated when he heard the bell toll from Undertaker's entrance music, distracting Kane and enabling Booker T to eliminate him. And then poor little Spike Dudley gets chokeslammed, not even getting to enter the 2004 Royal Rumble. Over the following weeks, Kane insisted The Undertaker was dead, only to be met with various paranormal incidents. Rainstorm localized over the ring in which he stood. The Undertaker returned at WrestleMania 20, once again back to the dead man persona, with Paul Bearer at his side defeating Kane. Over the course of a couple years, there was various other stuff here. He fell in love with Lita after losing at WrestleMania 20, but was spun. Kidnapped Lita in May, and on the same night, Kane won a 20-man battle royal for the World Heavyweight Championship match, against Chris Benoit at Bad Blood. However, 6 days before the pay-per-view, in a handicap match between Kane and La Resistance against Edge and Benoit, Kane pinned Benoit, but Kane lost to Bad Blood. Lita later announced she was pregnant with Matt Hardy, her then boyfriend, on and off screen, assuming he was the child's father. But then Kane claims to be the father. Next week, he explained he impregnated Lita to continue his legacy in a justified attack on Shawn Michaels a week earlier by claiming Michaels stood in the way of him winning the World Heavyweight Championship. To appease Kane, Bischoff gave Kane a rematch with Benoit, instructing Benoit that he could only win by submission, where Kane could win by pinfall, submission, or any other means. But Kane lost once again. And the following match, Lita came to the ring and, well, blowed him right in the mommy daddy buttons, and he went to chokeslam her in revenge, and forced him to cause her to miscarry their child. Then Kane and Matt Hardy had a feud with a till death do us part match at SummerSlam. Lita was obliged to wed the victor for some reason. Kane defeated Hardy at SummerSlam, married Lita on the August 23rd episode of Raw, gained the upper hand, chokeslammed Hardy off the stage, and then the week after that awful wedding segment, Eric Bischoff gave Kane and Lita the wedding gift of choosing any match Kane wanted at Unforgiven. He chose Shawn Michaels and defeated Kane in a no disqualification match, and Unforgiven got his ass handed to him. September 13th episode of Raw, Kane accidentally fell on Lita during a match with the debuting Gene Sissy, who hit him on the back with the steel chair, obstinately causing Lita to miscarry. Oops. Wasn't Snitsky's fault. It wasn't my fault. Anyways, Kane sought revenge against Snitsky for causing the death of his unborn child, but lost to Snitsky in a steel chain match that was selected by the fans at Taboo Tuesday 2004. Kane was sidelined for several months after Snitsky crushed his larynx with a chair during the match. Anyways, it gave Jacobs time to complete his role in the film See No Evil. Anyways, Kane later returned in January 2005, getting revenge on Snitsky at that year's New Year Revolution. Kane and Lita reconciled and began antagonizing Lita's rival Trish Stratus after WrestleMania 21. There was a match between Kane and Viscera, who was Stratus' bodyguard at the time, which Kane single-handedly won. Lita later turned on Kane and started an on-screen relationship with real-life boyfriend Edge at the time. This led to a feud between Kane and Edge, whom Kane defeated at Vengeance despite interference from Snitsky. And then the feud ended when Edge defeated Kane in a stretcher match on the July 25th episode of Raw. He actually teamed with Big Show, basically, eventually at one point, because initially rivals, as he returned to WWE TV on the October 17th episode of Raw. And as a result, winning an 18-man battle royal. He, along with Big Show and Shawn Michaels and were the top three, and they had to feud with each in an internet poll to decide who would receive a shot at Taboo Tuesday 2005 for the WWE Championship. But Kane and Big Show were teaming together on several occasions. Poll was won by Michaels, and eventually Kane and Big Show's team just continued to go take off. They beat Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch for the World Tag Team Championships, retaining throughout the remainder of 05. And yeah, that was something here. Oh boy. And they lost the belts eventually to the Spirit Squad members Kenny and Mikey. It was after WrestleMania 22 where they had successfully defended the belts against Carlito and Chris Masters. And then Kane subsequently began attacking anyone who mentioned the date, May 19th. Why? There was a fake Kane, basically, that was Luke Gallows. And that was shit, too. Imposter Kane with his old mask, his old fucking theme attire, chokeslam Kane. The fake Kane actually won, but completely disappeared for no real reason. And sadly, we never know. He returned at SummerSlam eventually in 2006, attacking Umaga, interfering in DX versus the McMahons. And then he faced Big Show for the ECW World Championship in a losing effort during that WWE ECW. He then feuded with Umaga in a loser leaves Raw match, which he lost. Over the course of next several years, he would just have various feuds. Stayed on SmackDown, feuding with MVP, which led to an Inferno match as well. Damn good one, too. I'm pretty sure it was it. Yeah. Also, a lot of other stuff. He did reunite with Taker as well. Faced off the Great Collie several times as well. Good grief. Feuded with William Regal and Dave Taylor. And then the Boogeyman joined to team up with Kane. Because if anyone was going to get ya, not just Boogeyman, but Kane as well. And there was all sorts of stuff. had a feud with Mark Henry, lost him in a lumberjack match at One Night Stand 2007, and basically faced Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship at Great American Bash 2007, and then also try to go looking at stuff here. Oh boy, just looking at all this other madness, trying to face it. A lot of the World Championship feuds were intertwined as well. And Batista, when he was feuding with Collie, that was a little intertwined, but we'll save that when we get to that. And that was, yeah. He also made an appearance on WWE CW at the time as well, helping out CM Punk at one point. He actually won the fucking ECW championship, like in a battle royal before WrestleMania 24. He eliminated former rival Mark Henry in a dark match battle royale, earned a match on the opening of the show, and is the second, or at least close to the opening. It was the second fastest WrestleMania match with a record-setting 11 seconds, beating Chavo Guerrero for the ECW championship. And that's when he officially joined the brand, defended the belt against Guerrero once more, had some tag team action teaming with CM Punk, but losing to Morrison and Miz. And then he was drafted back to Raw, basically, and lost the ECW Championship to Mark Henry at Night of Champions 2008 in a triple threat match that involved Big Show. And yeah, a bunch of other contenders and mostly minor stuff. He also won the World Heavyweight. Now we get into 2010. He won the World Heavyweight Championship as well. Like, he was that year's Mr. Money in the Bank, basically. If I could just find the damn thing here. Yeah, here, where is it? So yeah, if I could just find it. The first ever Money in the Bank pay-per-view in 2010. He won, cashed in the contract later that night, defeated Rey Mysterio, who had just defeated Jack Swagger to win the World Heavyweight Championship. This actually made him the first wrestler in WWE history to hold the WWE Championship, ECW Championship, and World Heavyweight Championship. He was also the first wrestler to cash in MITB on the same night it was won, and also holds the fastest record for fastest cash in at 47 minutes. He feuded more with Mysterio. Undertaker got brought back into the mix, basically somehow. And yeah, Kane was the Undertaker's attacker, which Mysterio revealed, forcing him to turn heel and reigniting their feud. And eventually he lost the World Heavyweight Championship, even actually defeating Undertaker in a Buried Alive match, and help from the Nexus to retain the title. Now, if I could find when he actually lost the belt, that's kind of hard here.
TLC, I remember.
TLC against Edge. I think we just found it here. Yeah, or if I could find it. Yeah, Kane lost to Edge in a four-way. It was a four-way TLC match, also involving Rey Mysterio and Alberto Del Rio. He got his rematch on the January 7th, 2011 episode of SmackDown, Last Man Standing match, but was unsuccessful. He was the 40th and final person to enter the ever-largest Royal Rumble match at the 2011 Royal Rumble, competed in the 2011 Elimination Chamber match, eliminating Drew McIntyre and Big Show, before eliminated by Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship. And him and Kane teamed up with, Santino Marella and Kofi Kingston to beat the Core at WrestleMania 27. Yeah, trying to read the room miracles. Some rematch and nothing really exciting. Funnily enough, of course, eventually he would team up with Daniel Bryan, had a newer mask, basically, at WrestleMania 28 in 2012. He actually re-teamed with Kane. It almost looked like they were going to bring him back to an older style with a newer mask. But that never happened, sadly, and didn't last long. But to be fair, his teaming with Daniel Bryan was pretty good, basically. Yes, he teamed with Daniel Bryan to form Team Hell No. Both had some crazy-ass anger management issues, enrolled in anger management classes hosted by Dr. Shelby, and later forced to compete in a hug-it-out match. Needless to say, bitter rivals here and adversaries becoming a team. And Team Hell No is legitimately pretty goddamn good as well. I mean it too, there was a lot of crazy stuff. They feuded with the Rhodes Scholars, and they also feuded with, they also apparently had feuded with the Shield. I am also, them teaming up. Team Hell No teamed up with Ryback to face the Shield, but that didn't go well. It was TLC 2012. And they had more successful title defenses. WWE Tag Team Championships. They defeated Kofi Kingston and R-Truth at Night of Champions 2012. And this was fun. And unfortunately, things didn't quite go as planned. Eventually, Kane ended up joining the Authority, becoming Corporate Kane, splitting away from Daniel Bryan, who was hot in that feud with them. I think the less said about that, the better, basically. It's basically the bitch of them all for the group, and he also had several tag team reunions in more recent years, reuniting with The Undertaker to face the Wyatt family, Survivor Series 2015, Brothers of Destruction defeated Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper in a tag match. He earned more Rumble matches as well, WrestleMania 32 was in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and I think we're just getting into the end filler parts of his stage here, so what really more can you say that hasn't really been said about Kane? I pretty much just went through it. Again, another solid 30 minutes, but Kane had a stacked fucking career. And to be honest, he's done a lot of other stuff outside of the media as well. Again, he was in Encino Evil. And also he even entered in politics. Glenn Jacobs himself entered into politics. And he is still the current mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. Hard to believe. And to be honest, it's hard to believe it, too, that he's done so much, not just in the wrestling world, but outside as well, appearing in other pieces of media as well. He actually made it to the finals of a special WWE episode of The Winkus Link in March of 2002, and actually won by beating out Bubba Ray Dudley in the final round. The money was later donated to his chosen charity, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. And he appeared in a lot of other shows as well, like Smallville appearances.
I was gonna say that Smallville.
Alongside Ashley Massaro, God rest her soul. And he's also appeared in pretty much every licensed WWF/E game since Warzone. The only exception being Betrayal. All right, Healy, do you have any favorite moments of Kane?
I mean, you can't talk about favorite moments of Kane without reminiscing about his debut, and the whole crowd was like shocked, ripping the cell door off, just seeing this absolute ham hock of a guy near 7 foot, just like gargantuan man making his way down to the ring. Like, if you watched that as a kid, you'll never forget in that moment. I mean, winning his first WWE Championship against Stone Cold, I agree with you in the fact that he should have had a much longer reign for how much of an intimidating guy he was, and what he could do in that ring. But I mean, I'm not as old as many people who reminisce about Kane as one of the greats. I do love Kane, but the thing that goes in my head is probably not what many people think of when they think of Kane, but him cashing in on Rey Mysterio and winning that World Championship. Such a big world title drought, late 90s to 2011. Finally getting his big moment once again, having a longer reign. But it's well overdue. I feel like ever since 2010, possibly, people have been saying, "Oh, when Kane retires, he's surefire Hall of Fame, maybe even marquee."
And there you go.
So now he's in there. I don't know if he's going to be headlining. Maybe that's reserved for NWO, or I don't know how they're going to do it. But
NWO
Kane
would be 2020, and the headliner for 2020 is out the door. So we'll just see.
Yeah, but Kane, well deserved. I hope we get to see Kane induct Undertaker in there one day. It was perfect that Undertaker announced his induction. But yeah, good to see Kane in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Steven, do you have any favorite Kane moments? What the hell am I saying? Stop! I'm getting desperate.
I actually have a few. When he catches Rey Mysterio, one to catch it on the same night, of course. Him being the first wrestler I see as champion. When I start watching wrestling, champion, and that's a great moment. Him feuding with the guys like John Cena, him Undertaker, Hell in a Cell, making Hell in a Cell matches great. Him and it was that moment I remember. It was Raw Reunion, I think. Him and Undertaker just tombstone, I think, Hunico and can't remember the other one, but it was Heath Slater, I think.
There you go.
Another great moment. Oh, of course, him and Daniel Bryan, Team Hell No, maybe favorite tag team at that point. Team Hono was
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
And, of course, that night actually it was Daniel. It was Edge's talk show. The Cutting Edge, I think.
Yeah,
Was
the Cutting Edge.
Daniel and Kane were there being tag team champion. You know, they say, "I'm the tag team champion. I'm the tag team champion."
Oh yeah,
And
that was.
it's just like it's like Kane. You're not the big bony dinosaur. You're the big man machine. I tombstone your wife.
Oh, good grief. All right. Yeah, I got you, man. So,
Kane is one of my favorites. Kane, you're the best in the world.
okay, Steven, you can stop now. You can chill now, man. It's
And
fine.
of course, when he did came back in 2018 when Team Hell No had him, I didn't like. Oh man, he injured so bad that match.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I got it, man. I got you. All right. Stop it. I'm too old for this shit. If I had to pick a favorite moment of Kane, it's his dominance in the 2001 Royal Rumble. My god, just seeing that shit blew my mind the first time. And still fucking does, quite frankly. Could have won it.
Undertaker needs to be in the Hall of Fame, you know. Undertaker,
Soon. In due time, though. In due time. But we'll see. Alright, guys. Brace yourselves for the next one. Brace yourself, folks. I didn't think this would be happening, but the Great Collie. Stop it! Alright, folks, let's just get this fucking shit over with. Okay, I get why they're partially doing it, because it was all taped in advance, so... Oh yeah, there's another thing you didn't know, by the way, about this ceremony. It was actually taped in advance. They actually taped it, They taped it back on Tuesday earlier. They taped it a week before it's supposed to air on April 6th. 2021, but, okay, what are we talking about? Okay, fine, okay, the Great Collie, one-time World Heavyweight Champion, which made him the first Indian World Champion in WWE, and a 2008 Slammy Award winner for Damn Moment of the Year, hosting the Kiss Cam on the November 7th episode of... What are they? Okay, look, here's the thing, because this show... The Hall of Fame was taped in advance, and there's no fans per se there. They probably wanted to pick someone who they could basically not have to worry about so much. Someone who doesn't have to say a whole lot. Because of this is kind of a shoo-in. But that doesn't mean I have to necessarily enjoy this, you know. Okay. Let's just get into this. Excuse me. Okay. So he had several appearances in pre-WWE promotions, had a year stint in All Pro Wrestling under the name Giant Singh, teaming with Tony Jones against the West Side Players, had a very short stint in WCW during the company's dying days. He, in 2001, when he came to San Francisco, signed a contract, spent 8 months here until the promotion was brought out by the WWF. He later received an offer from NJPW by Team 2000 leader Masahiro Chono, along with another big man, that being Giant Silva, where they were the tallest tag team in professional wrestling history at an average height of 7 foot 2.5 inches and a combined weight of 805 pounds. Teamed up for the first time at Tokyo Dome in October, labeled as Club 7 by Chono, defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kenzo Suzuki, Wataru Inoue, and Yutaka Yoshi in a handicap match, when Silva pinned Tanahashi and Inoue at the same time. Singh suffered his first loss in a tag team match at Wrestling World 2000 in January 2002 after Hiroyoshi Tenzan pinned him with a cradle. He suffered another big tag defeat during March, being pinned by Manabu Nakanishi after a German suplex pin, though his most critical loss in August was at Tokyo Nippon Budokan, when, after a falling out, he was pinned by Silva in a singles match. He wrestled for about 4 years, on and off in other promotions. He actually wrestled in CMLL and even AJPW until 2006, which is why we're here. Oh my god. On January 2nd, 2006, he was the first Indian professional wrestler to be signed by the WWE. He was assigned their developmental federation, Deep South Wrestling. He wrestled under his real name, Dalip Singh Rana. I should mention how he actually came to be as well. You see, he's also made appearances in numerous films, and before he was signed, he appeared in the 2005 remake of The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler as one of the inmates, basically. Now, that film actually had several wrestlers star in it, including Goldberg, Steve Austin, and Kevin Nash. Likely someone caught wind there, basically, and what happened was, yeah, Vince signed him. Now, I get why, because look, big men have always been attractions in wrestling, and it just kind of makes sense in a way. But at the same time, you have to just wonder, what was the whole thought process? Well, he believed he was actually one of the first, if not the first, ever Indian wrestler to be signed to WWE in a way, or at least a full Indian descent here. He had Daivari as his manager, basically, and attacked The Undertaker, debuting on the April 7, 2006 episode of SmackDown, and left him defenseless during his match with Mark Henry, causing a no contest. The following week, he was introduced as the Great Collie, and Daivari expressed that he could finally have a client who would destroy The Undertaker after Muhammad Hassan and Mark Henry failed. Collie made his in-ring debut basically on the April 21st episode of SmackDown, defeating Funaki. He was JBL's handpicked opponent against Rey Mysterio and squashed him, might I add, when Mysterio was World Heavyweight Champion. And he even defeated Undertaker at Judgment Day as well that year. And he was on a rampage for several weeks, having his own kind of undefeated streak of sort. He even had a brief appearance, basically, on ECW. Oh, and I should mention, he also challenged The Undertaker to a Punjabi prison match at the Great American Bash, but Collie was not medically cleared to compete in the match and was replaced by Big Show, who lost the match despite Collie's interference. After medically cleared, Collie was challenged by Undertaker to a last man standing match at SummerSlam on August 20th of that year. Match was moved to SmackDown prior by SummerSlam and was won by Undertaker, giving Collie his first definitive loss, and that's where his streak ended. Shortly after, he and Daivari went over to ECW, making their debuts on the October 31st episode of ECW on Sci-Fi. Daivari defeated the Reject Shannon Moore in a squash match, and then Moore was manhandled by Collie. Daivari continued his ECW winning streak over the next several weeks, with Collie usually following up with the contest with a choke bomb on Daivari's opponent. And at the awful December to Dismember 2006, Daivari got a victory over Tommy Dreamer with a dreaded, awe-inspiring, ultra-devastating Farouk roll-up. Dreamer chased Daivari backstage, but Collie appeared, caught Dreamer, planting him on the steel ramp with a choke bomb. Then, Collie was drafted to Raw without Daivari, who stayed on ECW, and wrestled John Cena in the main event on the January 8th, 2000 episode of Raw. Collie won by disqualification after Cena took a steel chair held by Armando Estrada, his new manager, and basically hit Collie with it. After the match, he performed a chokeslam on Cena and left the arena, which left Cena prone to being laid out by Umaga. February 19th episode of Raw, Collie demanded better competition after defeating the Highlanders. 4 days later, on SmackDown, Collie interfered in a Falls Count Anywhere Money in the Bank qualifying match between Kane and King Booker at the time, by costing Kane the match, which led to a feud which culminated in a match at 23, which Collie won in his first appearance at WrestleMania after slamming Kane with a Collie bomb, choking him with a hook and chain at the end of the match. And it was awful! Now, look, you normally would need a big man, someone who can move enough at least to complement another big man, but jeez, Collie was so big that he couldn't really move that damn much, and that match was so fucking terrible. Good God, slow, prodding, tiring, and I'm pretty sure the crowd was chanting, "You can't wrestle," to Collie. Good God, that was fucking painful.
Come on, it wasn't like Enzo bad.
Hey, no. I guarantee you Enzo, even if pressured enough, could fucking wrestle circles. And I was there for that shit, man. I witnessed that. Not in person, but I remember. That was painful, man. Don't tell me that when I fucking witnessed this shit. And then Collie attacked WWE Championship John Cena and sending a message that he wanted Cena's title. Next week on Raw, Collie defeated Shawn Michaels in a #1 contenders match for the WWE Championship at Judgment Day. But Collie lost via submission for the first time when tapping out to Cena's STFU, though Collie's foot was under the rope and went unnoticed by the referee. The next night on Raw, Collie expressed his outrage over the outcome via his newly now established translator and manager. We kick Armando Estrada to the curb, and now we enter Ranjit Singh. At One Night Stand, June 3rd, Collie lost to Cena in a Falls Count Anywhere match after he was hit with an FU off a crane bed, thus marking the first time Collie had been pinned in a singles match. I will admit, he took that fucking FU like a champ, and the fact that Cena even managed to lift a man of his size and do it off a crane, that is astounding. I will give them props for that. And I'm just going to say it right now, that's probably my favorite moment of Collie's, just seeing him get FU'd off the crane by Cena. Just because Cena lifted Collie like he did 3 years prior with Big Show at Mania 20. And here is where it happened. World Heavyweight Championship. He was drafted to SmackDown as the brand's first pick in the 2007 draft. In July, he began a feud with Batista, and the two were scheduled for a match at the Korean American Bash that year. But Edge vacated the World Heavyweight Championship due to a legitimate injury. 20-man Battle Royale held for the 20th July edition of SmackDown, which Collie won after eliminating both Kane and Batista in one move, winning his first World Heavyweight Championship. And need we mention, he held the fucking title upside down. I swear to you, you cannot make this shit up. World Heavyweight Champion. Heavyweight Championship upside down. You cannot make this shit up, people. He legitimately held the fucking title. Oh god, I could look at part of it and it was just... Jesus Christ. Jesus H. Christ, man. Jesus H. Christ. What in the hell? Ugh, just bad. He continued to dominate both Batista and Kane in that triple threat match at Great American Bash and blah blah blah. Defeated a new move, finisher called the Collie Vice Grip, which was basically a two-handed claw hole using to wear down Batista, Kane, and Ric Flair. SummerSlam 2007, Collie lost by disqualification when he used the steel chair but retained the title. Collie began a feud with Mysterio after Rey Mysterio won a championship contention, become #1 contender. Collie applied his Visa Grip on the September 7th episode of SmackDown until Batista came to the rescue. Teddy Long informed Collie he'd have to defend the belt against Batista in a triple threat match at Unforgiven on September 16th, where Collie's 61-day reign mercifully ended after receiving a spine buster. Yep, no Batista bound. Guarantee you, yeah, Cena can hit the FU, but whatever. I can't even. Collie challenged Batista to a rematch in a Punjabi prison match on No Mercy on October 7th, in which Collie lost by failing to escape the Punjabi prison before Batista. And yeah, this was another thing of Collie's that they had introduced, the Punjabi prison match. Kind of like a cell within a cell match, but it was awful. The match type could barely be seen by the people in the participants. The rules of the match were needlessly complicated. And yeah, you throw Collie in his own environment, and I'm pretty sure he's fucking lost just about all of them. All of the dreaded Punjabi. There it is. Punjabi. Ugh, good grief. Oh my god, this was bad. It's too complicated, and it was bad. Bless you again. Anything else I'm missing here? And what else is there? Late 2007 and early 2008, he feuded with Finlay, usually trying to assort Alt Hornswoggle, but Finlay stopping him. Collie was involved in the Elimination Chamber match at No Way Out on February 17th, 2008, which was won by The Undertaker. Later, at WrestleMania 24, on March 30th, he was in that Battle Royale that Kane won, that we already mentioned. And in July, Collie feuded with Triple H over the WWE Championship. On 25th July episode of SmackDown, he won a Battle Royale involving Big Show, Jeff Hardy, Montel Vontavious Porter, Mr. Kennedy, and Umaga to face Triple H at SummerSlam. But he lost after getting a pedigree on that year's SummerSlam, August 17th. He got another opportunity when he faced Jeff Hardy to gain entry into the championship scramble at Unforgiven 2008, or not SummerSlam, 08. But on September 7th, 2008, Triple H interfered in the qualification match, aided in Hardy with a chair shot to Collie, helped Hardy win and eliminate Collie from contention. Oh, good grief. There was another bad feud, basically, here, where the kiss cam was introduced. I don't even get it, basically, but this era from 08 to 011 was known as the Punjabi Playboy Era, if you will. Daredevil Johnny Knoxville actually had an interview with Collie and his translator on his website, jackassworld.com, but Knoxville asked about Collie's tallywhacker. I'll leave you to figure that one out. He became upset.
Penis!
Shut up! You shut up too, Steven. I am not in the mood right now. Okay. Shut up. Will you stop? I am not in the fucking mood because we're still having to talk about Collie. If you don't stop, I will mute your ass right now.
Guys, come.
I'm sorry. No, I had to do that. I had to fucking hit the button. Now, where the hell was I? Whatever. Collie later invited Knoxville to attend the October 13th episode of Raw. Knoxville was attacked by Collie, Beth Phoenix, and Hornswoggle. Oof. Collie took a more fun persona and became a fan favorite when he and Rajin Singh hosted the weekly Collie Kiss Cam, where he would summon ostensibly random women from the audience to kiss. He also feuded with Dolph Ziggler, winning by disqualification after Ziggler attacked him with a steel chair. And he tried to get revenge against Ziggler for cheating, but, and then kept losing a little bit at times. And at the Bash in 2000 and... oh, fuck, it doesn't say. But the Bash in 09, Collie lost to Ziggler by pinfall after Cade and returned and attacked Collie. Later, it was revealed that Rajin Singh, was Collie's brother, while the feud with Kane resulted in the matches at SummerSlam 09 and Breaking Point later that same year, both of which Collie lost. He later had to take a required knee surgery, and they wrote him out. He made a surprise appearance, too, on the 2nd November episode of Raw as a Just for Raw's Got Talent. This was during that dreaded awful guest host era, and it had Ozzy Osbourne and his wife Sharon Osbourne, who was a guest on, America's Got Talent at the time, in which he had Chavo Guerrero with one of those dreaded chops of his. He officially returned on the December 14th episode of Raw, teamed with Christian Kane to defeat Ezekiel Jackson, Vladimir Kozlov, and William Regal. Again, he spent more time off, but made appearances Klauber, Collie dressed as MacGruber, on the April 19th episode of Raw by teaming up with special guest host Will Forte as MacGruber in a handicap match against Kozlov, and they won by intentional countout. Jesus, we're really starting to get to the filler shit here. Oh, good grief. Part of the 2010 supplemental draft, Collie and Singh were both drafted back to Raw. And then he could be a part of his team. And then it was after returning from his hiatus the previous month, Collie was announced by John Cena to be a part of his team, along with Bret Hart, Chris Jericho, Edge, John Morrison, and R-Truth to face Nexus at SummerSlam. But he was assaulted on August 15th, but he was assaulted and injured by the Nexus, took out from the match, and was replaced by Daniel Bryan. Then Collie took another hiatus to compete in Big Boss, which he was the runner-up on. He returned at the 2011 Royal Rumble, got eliminated by Mason Ryan, feuded with Miz for a little bit, won an Interbrand Dark Battle Royale at WrestleMania 27, drafted back to SmackDown in 2011, talking backstage with Jinder Mahal, who made his WWE debut that night. Oh, that's going to come full circle. And then, oh, good grief, we're starting to get to the real bottom of the barrel with this shit. We're getting to the bottom of the barrel with this shit. The May 2nd episode of Raw, Collie dressed up as the Tooth Fairy at The Rock's birthday party. Get it? Because Rock was in that shitty... Fuck me. I can't take much
You love
more.
that movie.
Shut the fuck up, Steven. You're starting to piss me off. You're starting to piss me off, and do you not remember the shit that happened? What did I tell you last time? And stop with that hoo shit. There is no Braun Strowman. Fucking Christ. Is there anything else? You are immature, you know that? Okay, on May 6th, Mahal, unimpressed by how Collie and Singh have been partaking in childish activities instead of winning, confronted Singh about his mismanagement of Collie. Mahal then interrupted a Collie kiss cam segment the following week, slapped Collie twice, and then Mahal interrupted his match against Jey Uso, which Collie left the ring to confront Mahal, slapped Collie again, made him re-enter the ring, defeat Jey Uso, and assault his brother Jimmy after the match. There is nothing else really exciting at this point. I'm just gonna skim through this fucking shit. Basically, they formed an alliance with Mahal, acted as Jinder Mahal's bodyguard, assaulted Mahal's opponent after his matches. Apparently, Mahal was his brother-in-law, and if Collie did not obey him, he would divorce Collie's sister and put the family back into poverty. Collie and Mahal teamed up against Airboom, Heaven-born and Kofi Kingston in a losing effort after Collie pushed Mahal, allowing Kingston to hit his finishing move onto Mahal, and after the match, he walked away from Mahal, ending their alliance. On the 23rd episode of SmackDown, Collie defeated Mahal. 30th September episode, Collie was defeated by World Heavyweight Champion Mark Henry, who's after the match fractured Collie's fibula with a steel chair. And then he entered 15 at the 2012 Royal Rumble, eliminated Ezekiel Jackson and Jinder Mahal before being eliminated by Cody Rhodes and Dolph Ziggler. Saved Justin Gabriel from Rhodes on the February 3rd episode of SmackDown. Hunico and Hunico's bodyguard Camacho announced his replacement of Mark Henry in an Elimination Chamber match for World Heavyweight Championship at Elimination Chamber 2012 pay-per-view. Failed to win the fucking belt, though. Added to Theodore Long's WrestleMania 2018, but was defeated by John Laurinaitis' team. And he underwent surgery again for a benign tumor found in his pituitary gland due to acromegaly. Collie returned at SmackDown tapings on October 16th in a match taped for Saturday Morning Slam. And then we get to main event. Wins a Battle Royal, becomes number one contender, U.S. Championship. Blows his fucking shot. Defeated by Cesaro. Competed in 2013 Royal Rumble, but eliminated by Daniel Bryan and Kane. Late 2013, team with Santino Marella. Resumed being managed by Hornswoggle after defeating Heath Slater on Jinder Mahal, 27th episode of September. On 27th September episode of SmackDown, but a Battleground that year in 2013. They were defeated by Cesaro, Jack Swagger. And finally, we're running out of shit. January 26, 2014, participated in 2014 Rumble match, but got booted by The Shield. Competed in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 30. Participated in the Intercontinental Championship Battle Royal Battleground on 20th July, but was won by The Miz. And his final match in WWE was the October 31st edition of SmackDown, which he was defeated by Rusev. Good grief. That was a lot.
Eddie made his return when he helped Jinder Mahal became...
Oh, shut up. I'll get to that in a moment. His contract expired on November 13th of 2014, and he left WWE. Until 2017, when he returned as a heel to assist Jinder Mahal in a Punjabi prison match for the WWE Championship by preventing Randy Orton from escaping the structure, allowing Mahal to escape and retain the title. And he returned in 2018 at the Greatest Royal Rumble match, entering at number 45, lasting less than a minute before being eliminated by Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley. That was his final match for WWE. Oh, good God, this was rough. I could see what they were trying to do with Collie over the years. They tried to make him another intimidating giant in the vein of, say, Andre the Giant and various others that have come before him. Unfortunately, this was about as successful as fucking Giant Gonzalez back in the 90s. Needless to say, Collie's big stature hampered really a lot what he could do in the ring, and more often than not, he had to be carried by his opponents. And even those who were capable often found themselves befuddled with what to do. Those chants were not out of nowhere. They were warranted after all this fucking madness. it's a pain, okay? I get it. I don't want to rag too much more than I already have, because I get what they were trying to do. And not to mention, the Indian market was so lucrative for WWE, and having Collie in there was apparently so successful enough that they decided to try it all over again about 10 years later with Jinder Mahal to an even worse result. And now we've gone full circle. Oh God, Healy, do you have any favorite moments of Collie?
I mean, I do, but the thing is, before I get to it, I'd like to reinforce a point I was making to someone earlier. We're in a different server of mine. We're watching some WrestleManias in the build-up to WrestleMania. We were watching Mania 6, which was Andre the Giant's final WWE match. I'm not too sure if it was his final, like, in-ring,
In-ring appearance?
Yeah, but I know it was his final match, and he didn't move around much, but the crowd, they were lapping it up. They didn't care, because Andre had some weight issues and some drinking issues at that time.
Everything was, like, everything was catching up to him, basically.
Yeah, it was like trying to wrestle a Jenga tower. It could have toppled any moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact is that the crowd didn't care. You know, Andre the Giant was a spectacle even up to his final match. I feel like the Great Khali would have done so much better in the golden era. I feel like...
Oh, absolutely, man. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, he would have made a great champion in the 80s. You know, it's more about larger-than-life characters, larger-than-life people. He was around in more of a work rate era of like the mid to late 2000s, and still competing until 2014 in WWE. So yeah, sad for Collie to be born a bit later than his time, but you know,
it is what it is.
My favorite moment of Collie, and believe me, when Collie was debuting and he was doing this thing, I was still a 7-year-old kid or 8-year-old kid, so I was petrified by him.
Yeah, I was too.
It reached this peak when I saw him. I mean, his vice grip. Like, I know it probably didn't hurt, but it was one of the moves that looks like it did. And when he put his big, gruff, just huge hands across the head and face of Rey Mysterio, you thought he was gonna like pop a pee, like the way he was just like wrenching on that little head of Rey Mysterio. Probably my favorite, but also my scary experience of watching a Great Khali. And you know what? He's the first Indian-born champion in WWE, I believe, or world champion at least.
He was world heavyweight champion.
Yeah, that's got to count for something. If it's Hall of Fame worthy, I have no opinion on the matter. You know, there's been worse people in the Hall of Fame.
I suppose.
But yeah, I mean, you know what? He did his job. some really scary moments got me as a kid, and that was the intended effect. So you know what, Collie, welcome to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, despite his crappy comedy crap that he would do later on. Steven, do you have any favorite Collie moments?
Probably when Beth Phoenix got him out of the kiss.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Never trust a woman.
Exactly, especially one who's pretty much going up against 29 other men. Not at the first at that point, but certainly a noble goal, and one that many other more women would try to do in later years. Anyways, so yeah, there we go. We got one more candidate, thankfully, so let's end this on a high note, shall we? Well, here is another surprise that is definitely warranted. Excuse me, I need his theme for this one, by the way. Please pardon me while I do it. Here we go. Hit the theme. Mr. Monday Night. Oh yes. Say it with me, folks. One of a kind. Alright, kill the music. Now I'll actually throw it in here in the actual post-editing. You just can't hear it. But yes, Mr. Monday Night. Probably the best money, one of the best Money in the Bank cash-ins ever had, quite frankly. ECW, the whole fucking show. Rob Van Dam. And yes, I am doing the gesture. You just can't see it because I'm behind the camera. No, for real though. This is another one who's long overdue. Let's take a look, shall we? His accolades. Recognized WWE accolades. One-time WWE Champion, one-time ECW World Champion, 6-time Intercontinental Champion, 4-time Hardcore Champion, one-time European Champion, and the last Hardcore and European Champion for that matter. One-time Tag Team Champion, two-time World Tag Team Champion, one-time ECW World Television Champion, two-time ECW World Tag Team Champion, and the 2006 Money in the Bank winner. Oh yeah, this Rob Van Dam is absolutely worthy of this friggin' induction. A lot of his early career, though, well, he had was pretty much mostly spent.
Smoke weed every day.
Yeah. Also, he blazed that weed. For real, though. What can we really say about him? He's had 10 years in ECW, WWE, and even TNA, actually. His mainstream popularity mostly arose in ECW during the latter half of the 90s. He became one of the most famous wrestlers in the industry. He was more known for his kind of unique innovator style, basically, too. Like, he would have all these interesting moves, too, like the Van Terminator, too, which was basically what Shane McMahon would later adopt as the Coast to Coast. And he would have all sorts of stuff, Rolling Thunder, using weapons in all sorts of creative ways. And he was a very agile man as well, on top of that. There's a reason the 5-star Frog Splash was his finisher. He was managed by Bill Alfonso, had feuds with Jerry Lynn and Sabu, and formed a tag team with the latter. They won the ECW World Tag Team Championship twice, and he actually won the ECW Television Championship, defeating Bam Bam Bigelow on April 4th, 1998, and held it for 700 days until he vacated the championship due to an injury on March 4th, 2000. Now, after ECW closed in 2001, Van Dam signed a contract with the WWF, now WWE, and was involved in the awful invasion storyline, or the letdown. But several former WCW and ECW wrestlers joined forces against WWF wrestlers. After the invasion ended, he spent a lot of years in the singles and tag team wrestler, won the Hardcore, Intercontinental, European Tag Team, and World Tag Team Championships. And at Mania 22, he won the Money in the Bank ladder match, pretty much winning the contract. After his victory, he challenged champion John Cena to a title match at ECW One Night Stand 2006. And mind you, Cena was getting his fucking ass booed out of the building that night. They were not having any of it. I don't think people realize how feisty they were, but if we look this up, because I want you guys to hear this fucking crowd, man. Just listen to the fucking crowd. Just listen to this.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Just listen to this. Right after the bell. Hear that? Hear that? They are not having any of it, people. Oh, they were not having any of it that night. But yeah, he won, thankfully, and 2 days later, Paul Heyman also awarded Van Dam the reactivated ECW World Heavyweight Championship, making him the only man to hold both titles at the same time. That is a hell of an honor. He left WWE in 2007, worked on the independent circuit, signed a contract with TNA in 2010, defeated AJ Styles to win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, even appeared in AAA and challenged Dr. Wagner Jr. for the inaugural AAA Latin American Championship at Triple Mania XIX in a losing effort. He remained under contract with TNA until 2013, leaving the company after a run with the X Division Championship. He later returned to WWE and worked there for a year, stayed in the independent circuit, wrestling from 2019 to 2020 with TNA, now known as Impact Wrestling. In 2021, it was announced that he would be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, of course. Yeah, he's one of only 2 wrestlers to have held the WCW, ECW, and TNA World Championships alongside Bobby Lashley. He's also headlined many pay-per-views throughout 3 decades between the 90s and 2010s. The 1998 edition of November to Remember, that's ECW's flagship event. 2011 edition of Triple Mania, that's AAA's flagship event. He was even ranked the #1 pro wrestler in the world by Pro Wrestling Illustrated in 2002, voted most popular wrestler by readers of the magazine in 2001 and again in 2002, and WWE named him the greatest ECW star in history in 2014. It's not really hard to see why, though. He had such a very interesting style, quite frankly, too. It's very interesting. He's actually also a trained kickboxer and martial artist. Growing up in Battle Creek, Michigan, he studied martial arts at 2 local dojos, received instruction in karate, taekwondo, aikido, kickboxing, and kajukenbo. In 1990, he placed second in the Kalamazoo heavyweight tough contest. Bless you again, my dude. Jesus. Anyways, he also is an outspoken advocate of vitamins and bodybuilding supplements and attributes this to his mother's influence. And, of course, advocate for weed, needless to say, legalization of cannabis. By the way, includes the use of his phrase, and he's incorporated this a lot into his personal affinity, like into his wrestling personality. The phrase RVD 420 means I just smoked your ass. Anyways, I do want to cover some stuff. There's a lot, really, that he's had, and yeah, I'm not even going to try to, basically, but that was more of a summary. But I want to go through his WWE history a little bit. Like I mentioned, he teamed with the Invasion and the Alliance during the whole Invasion line storyline, but despite being a heel, he was very popular with fans, and for very good reason, too. He held the Hardcore title, of course, defeated a lot of other wrestlers during this time as well, even the Alliance leader at one point. He was pretty much one of the most popular members in the Alliance at that point in time. It's just sad because you really would have hoped he would have turned and joined the good guys. He did hold the Intercontinental Championship. That was one of his first. He won the belt at WrestleMania X8, defeating William Regal in the opening match of that pay-per-view. Was drafted to the Raw brand as the 4th pick. Maintained the belt. Lost the Intercontinental Championship, though, back to Eddie Guerrero. Had a decent little feud with him. And yeah, failed to get it back though. And he even made it to the final round in the 2002 King of the Ring tournament, but lost to Brock Lesnar. Oh boy, I need to get some food after this. Anyways, into the championship match. Yeah, he also was the last European champion as well. As Van Damme regained the belt back, though, on the May 27, 2002 episode of Raw, defeating Eddie Guerrero in a ladder match. Damn good one, might I add. And on July 22nd, he unified the Intercontinental Championship with the European Championship into the Intercontinental Championship. Although this is not recognized officially, the European Championship reign by WWE, but it is in their encyclopedia. Anyways, so yeah, and then he lost the Intercontinental Championship on the July 29th episode of Raw to Chris Benoit. But he later won it back at SummerSlam 2002. And Benoit brought the title to SmackDown when he switched brands shortly after. Winning it, Van Damme brought the title back to Raw. Of course, he also unified the Hardcore Championship into the Intercontinental Championship by defeating fellow ECW alumni Tommy Dreamer in a Hardcore title unification match. He became the #1 contender to the World Heavyweight Championship by defeating Chris Jericho, Jeff Hardy, and Big Show in a fatal 4-way elimination match. Sadly, this was during the Reign of Terror. Thus, Van Damme lost, unfortunately. Yeah, and he also lost the Intercontinental Championship to Chris Jericho after Triple H's interference. And Van Damme lost his championship match at Unforgiven due to Ric Flair's interference, as this is when the stages were being planned for Evolution. But at No Mercy, Van Damme got his revenge on Flair by defeating him. At Survivor Series, Van Damme participated in the first ever Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship, but it was won by Shawn Michaels. During the match, Van Damme performed a 5-star frog splash off of one of the pods on Chambers and Triple H after accidentally landing with his knee on Triple H's throat. Yeah, that was a fucking brutal match. He also did team with Kane, as we mentioned in Kane's overview here. They won the belts for a bit, but unfortunately, everything went to hell when Kane was unmasked, as we established. He also did have various other championship reigns as well. He had other championship reigns over the IC title as well. He was a really strong upper mid-card. You felt he could have done some work basically in the main event scene, but patience, people, we'll get there. He also teamed with Booker T as well, and They actually defended the World Tag Team Championship in a fatal 4-way elimination match against the Dudley Boys, La Resistance, and the team of Mark Jindrak and Garrison Cade at WrestleMania 20. Van Dam was drafted to SmackDown in 2004, though, and basically teamed with Rey Mysterio, feuded with the Dudley Boys, and beat them at Judgment Day. Went in pursuit of the United States Championship, though. But sadly, things did not go there. Did not quite go there. Teamed back up with Rey Mysterio and feuded with Rene Dupree and Kenzo Suzuki. And yeah, there's not much more here. Although he did have to go suffer a knee injury in January of 2005 and underwent reconstructive knee surgery. During this time, he made an appearance at ECW One Night Stand 2005, accompanied by his former manager and sporting a knee brace. He delivered a work-shoot promo standing up for ECW and criticizing the way he'd been booked in WWE, until he was attacked by Rhino, saved by Sabu, who defeated Rhino in an impromptu match. But despite his injury, he got physically involved in the match, hitting Rhino with a chair shot and giving him a chair surf. And, of course, he was drafted back to Raw in the 2005 draft lottery, introduced to Raw by Carlito, who insulted Van Dam before attacking him and assaulting his knee. Van Dam made his return to the ring over 7 months later at the Royal Rumble, gained revenge on Carlito by eliminating him, but in turn inadvertently eliminated Rey Mysterio in the final moments. Or eliminated by Rey Mysterio in the final moments, my bad. And, of course, in 2006... we all know what happened. I'm just going to say it right now. This is also my favorite Rob Van Dam moment. Right here. He qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match, won the match, earning himself a guaranteed shot at either the WWE Championship or World Heavyweight Championship within the subsequent year. Which leads us to the most important moment. His feud with John Cena. Now, on May 29, 2006, he was selected by Paul Heyman to be drafted to the newly revived ECW brand. And at One Night Stand, Van Dam cashed in his Money in the Bank contract and defeated John Cena to win the WWE Championship. After 2 referees were knocked out, Edge appeared from underneath the ring to attack Cena, spearing him through a table. Van Dam hit a 5-star frog splash, and the pinfall was counted by Paul Heyman. On the following episode of Raw, Vince McMahon confirmed the title change was official because the match was held under Extreme Rules, and Paul Heyman, well, was the higher authority, the final power. For the past several weeks, he hinted the WWE Championship would be rechristened the ECW World Heavyweight Championship when Van Dam won. Or rather, he just reinstated the old belt and awarded it to Van Dam by Heyman and decided to defend the WWE Championship separately, simultaneously joking that this one spins because it was the spinner belt, because Cena. He was the first wrestler to hold both of those titles at the same time, and the only one to hold them at the same time to make him a double world champion. He became the 15th WWE Triple Crown champion as a result of this win. At Vengeance, Van Dam defeated Edge to retain the championship, and 2 nights later on ECW, he defeated Kurt Angle to retain the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. July 3rd episode of Raw, he lost the championship to Edge in a triple threat match that also featured John Cena. And on the July 4th episode of ECW, he lost the ECW World Heavyweight Championship to fucking Big Show after Heyman turned on him. Later on, WWE.com, Heyman suspended Van Dam for 30 days without giving a reason. But in reality, WWE suspended him for 30 days as a result of his recent drug possession arrest. So what the hell happened there? Well, on July 3rd, 2006, the Ironton Tribune reported that Van Dam and Sabu had been arrested on the previous evening on U.S. Route 52 in Hanging Rock, Ohio. He had been stopped for speeding by an Ohio State Highway Patrol trooper who discovered that he was in possession of 18 grams of hashish and 5 Vicodin pills, while Sabu was in possession of drug paraphernalia and 9 tablets of a testosterone, whatever. Anyways, both of them were released after posting bail and were scheduled to appear in Ironton Municipal Court on July 6. The Tribune reported that the court date for them were in limbo as their attorneys had asked for and were granted continuances. On August 31st, Van Dam pleaded guilty to speeding in possession of hashish, but the charge of Vicodin possession was dropped when he produced a prescription. He was fined $140 and additional court cost. According to WWE's wellness policy, a drug-related arrest can lead to talent's immediate dismissal from the company. Then WWE Vice President of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis released a statement on the website reporting that both Van Damme and Sabu were still eligible to compete on Raw and ECW tapings in the following days, while an investigation conducted by WWE was being undertaken. So sadly, Van Damme's already, what would have been a longer reign for him, unfortunately was cut shortly. Both of them actually were. Yeah, so Van Damme was then suspended 30 days without pay, and an on-air segment of ECW was scripted to relay the suspension to the fans. The footage, arrest footage itself, and a recounting from him can actually be seen in the film Nine Legends. Anyway, so after that fiasco, his stock never seemingly recovered, unfortunately. That was just bad. I feel bad. He returned back on the August 8th episode of ECW, announcing some stuff, and there was a dreaded friggin'... He was in that awful Extreme Elimination Chamber match, December to Dismember. He joined the ECW Originals, feuding with the New Blood. New Blood being New Breed. What am I saying, New Blood? Oh yeah, Bischoff on the mic. But yeah, New Breed with Elijah Burke, Kevin Thorne, Marcus Corvan, and Matt Stryker. And the ECW Originals being Van Damme, Sabu, Tommy Dreamer, and the Sandman. They faced off at WrestleMania 23, which the ECW Originals naturally won. Unfortunately, there was some other stuff, some work shoot. Van Damme feuded with Randy Orton for a bit, and not good. Ultimately, though, everything just kind of ended down. He left WWE due to being burnt out and needing time away. His contract expired and was not renewed. He spent some time on the Indies circuit, spent some time in TNA, as we've already established. I won't go into detail about that. And finally, he came back in around 2013. He returned in the Money in the Bank 2013 as one of the participants in the championship ladder match, along with Christian, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, and Sheamus, but he failed to win the match. He then defeated Chris Jericho the following night on Raw in his first singles match for the company since 2007. He had a short winning streak, got a U.S. Championship opportunity against Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam 2013, but disqualification nuked any possible wins. He then feuded with World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio and lost via disqualification, Night of Champions 2013, and couldn't win the title, and same thing with Battleground. He then took a sabbatical from television, returned back in 2014, short feud with Damian Sandow, beating him twice over. Anyways, he entered the Intercontinental Championship tournament at the time, defeating Alberto Del Rio in the first round, Cesaro in the semifinals, but lost the finals to Bad News Barrett, feuded with Cesaro and Jack Swagger, but lost to Cesaro and Jack Swagger in a triple threat elimination match, won by Cesaro after pinning Van Damme last, who pinned Swagger first. He would once go on more to defeat Cesaro and Swagger on separate occasions in rematches on both Raw and SmackDown, and he won a Beat the Clock Challenge match on the May 19th episode of Raw that year, defeating Alberto Del Rio in the fastest time to get an IC title shot, but lost to Barrett at Payback 2014. And won a Battle Royale, or competed in a Battle Royale to get a World Heavyweight Championship match opportunity, which was actually won by Roman Reigns. MITB in 2014, he took part in the ladder match for a briefcase, but won by Seth Rollins, who pulled off the heist of the century. SummerSlam 2014 defeated Cesaro during the pre-show, teamed with Roman Reigns and Sheamus in a six-man tag match in a winning effort against Randy Orton, Ryback, and Curtis Axel on the August 18th episode of Raw, defeated Seth Rollins by countout on the August 26th edition of Main Event, and his final match with WWE was on August 29th episode of SmackDown, where he faced Seth Rollins in a losing effort. He made an appearance at the 2014 Slammy Awards to present Most Extreme Moment of the Year, and then he let his contract expire with the company, as you do, the following month. Despite his association with Impact Wrestling during his return, he made a one-night return for the Raw reunion episode of Monday Night Raw on July 22nd, 2019. And then after all this speculation, now he's going in. So Heathie, do you have any favorite Rob Van Dam moments? Heathie. Oh, fucking hell. Alright, Steven, do you have any favorite Rob Van Dam moments?
Yes, I can name a few. When he returned, that was a great moment. I love that Monday Night match, actually, the All-Star one. Probably when him and John Cena, I never watched, I've seen the clip, seen the match.
Yeah, I played a brief clip there of the dreaded you-know-what.
Rob Van Dam, he's a good high flyer,
Yeah, and to be honest, I think his high-flying style has influenced a lot more people today. So I think, honestly...
I kind of like one of his movesets. It's like, he puts someone on the barricade, and he goes on the how can you explain it? The rope, not like on the ropes, but right there on the ropes, and he says Rob Van Dam, and he does
his taunt, basically.
Yeah.
You mean the 5-star frog splash?
No.
Well, when you do that thing here, I'm not even sure.
It go like a leg drop, like a leg drop on the barricade thing.
You're not confused. Okay, leg drop on the barricade. I think you got me confused, or you got me confused a little bit, man. Well, Heathie, you back?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got any favorite Rob Van Dam moments?
I mean, I just think it's such a shame that he wasn't, made more of as a potential world champion. I mean, he is a former WWE champion.
But we know what happened with that, unfortunately.
It's not like WWE wants to erase the memory of Rob Van Dam as champion. I think just a lot of people forget that he was a champion, especially
which is sad.
Yeah, I know, but maybe in this current climate, if he was at the age he was at 2006, but in 2020, I don't think it would be frowned upon that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my favorite. I mean, I don't really have a favorite moment of this. Rob Van Dam, not to say I don't like him, but Rob Van Dam's one of them guys where he wows in every single match he's in. He had such a unique moveset and offense. Like the moves he did were otherworldly. Like that spinning leg drop off the apron onto the barricade, like the coast to coast fan Terminator, the Rolling Thunder.
All of it.
I always pop for the Rolling Thunder, especially when
that's
Randy
a good one. I loved it. I feel like I've been practicing that one enough, at least, because it's so cool.
If you were a wrestling fan and you had a trampoline, you did that at least once in your life.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've always made it a point to go back and watch some old ECW stuff because I wanted to get more reacquainted with the history of wrestling. And when I do that, I'm making it a point to watch as many RVD matches as possible because the guy was an innovator, one of the best, if not the best, in the early 2000s, late 90s, that never really got the recognition he deserved until the mid-2000s when he was with WWE. But yeah, loving to see him in the Hall of Fame.
Right. I think we all do. Like I said, long live his win at ECW One Night Stand 2006. And yeah, absolutely worthy of it. I think he's influenced a lot more than we realize, and this is absolutely well warranted. So
that's true.
All right, yeah. Let's just go ahead and wrap this up now that we've got our high note. Get it? High note. Yeah. Let's just stop it, Steven. Look, let's just finish this. All right. And there you go, folks, the 2021 class and our addendum for the 2020 class for what little there was. I have to say, despite one standing out like a sore thumb, the remaining inductees all were, and to be fair, Collie kind of, I guess, very little merit, but I guess a little goes a long way. I don't know, you be the judge. Anyways, so, yeah. This actually was already all taped in advance, so unless there's a secret inductee that they did without announcing, but I kind of doubt that, this is pretty much what we got here, basically. So, yeah, what more can we say except congrats to everyone who's getting inducted. Anyways, I want to thank Heathie, as always, for being here with me. Say bye, Heathie.
Yeah, Thanks for having me. It was quite a long one, but we got the end.
Well, I'm
but it was
pretty
a good
sure.
job.
I'm sure it was probably at least less time than the 20 video, but we spent a lot of time on Batista in that one. So
The magic of editing, maybe we'll make it a bit short for you guys.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we've got a busy week coming up, don't we?
Oh yeah, and I want to thank Steven as always for being here.
Well, see, you know.
Yep, you know what next week is. I don't even think I need it. We've got a busy fucking week. I mean, we've got this. By the time this goes up, everything is really going to start kicking off. Next week, we will be doing WrestleMania. It's Friday, April 2nd. Next week, around this time, we will be doing Mania. The heads up, there will be no podcast. This is a reminder for TakeOver Stand and Deliver, because it's going to be a more weekly thing here, or more middle of the week sort of thing, and not a full separate takeover. But for the most part, I will be doing a live watch along of possibly night 2 at least. Twitch.tv/CoffeeLover239, of course. And Mania, I'll do that as well, of course. So we'll be back next week for WrestleMania, and I hope you guys are prepared for the long ass week of wrestling that we've got.
Yeah, and hey guys, things are moving around. Just so you know, NXT is moving.
I think they know. Yeah, Impact's going back to Thursdays, NXT's going to Tuesdays, and this is a lot to keep up with. So brace yourselves, but brace yourselves for next week and possibly the week after, everybody. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye for now.